Welcome, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm Chris Gore from Film Threat. How you doing? I am listening to some jams while I'm waking up here. Thank you for turning that down because I was about to try to do it myself. I am pre-coffee, so it's going to be a very interesting beginning of the show. I hope we're having a good Friday. It's morning for me, pre-coffee. But I'm excited to talk to you today. Alan Ng will be joining us momentarily as he gets set up. But a couple of things. One, we're going to talk about, because Alan wants to do this. I blame Alan. I'm blaming Alan right now. She-Hulk Attorney at Law, Episode 2. He wants to discuss it. Fine. We're also going to review 3,000 Years of Longing, which is George Miller's new movie. He made Mad Max Fury Road. This is his follow-up. What is this movie even? The trailer looks pretty. Also, Breaking with John Boyega, Funny Pages, new film from A20. And we'll also be talking to the director of The Invitation later in the show. Get your questions ready. Check out those trailers. Check out those trailers later. There's links in the description. I'm just going to assume there are links in the description. That's normally what we do. Anyways, hope you're doing well. Get your chat questions started. I'm waking up. I'm seriously. I'm waking up. Alan Ng is here. Hey. Alan Ng from Film Threat is here. How's it going, man?
Hey, good. I'm not as tired as you, but I'm tired.
Well, you know, what can you say? I'm just. It's one of those.
Friday.
It's been a busy week. You know, I'm you know, when people ask me to be on a lot of other shows, and my life is very scheduled. Like I live by my calendar on my phone. Just tells me what I'm doing next. I'm doing this, doing that, doing this, whatever. But I have to finish this movie because Attack of the Dock is going to screen at the Tucson Film Festival the weekend of October 13th through 15th, and the movie's not done yet.
Is that the official premiere then? Tucson?
I don't know. There's another festival that may happen the very same weekend. I can't announce it yet, but I'm officially announcing that if you live in the Tucson area, come out and see the movie. I think we're going to have a little after party, a little soiree, as it were. It should be a lot of fun. I should also mention that if you want to support our work, we have Film Threat t-shirts. Just go to shop.filmthreat.com. Isn't there? Don't we have a little? Yes, here we go. Shop.filmthreat.com. Go check that out. Yeah, it's wait, here we are. There's our names will be there any second. Yeah, so I am sort of the king of like juggling. Like I do Film Threat. I like to see a lot of movies. I'm working on this doc, which is a lot of like noting and going over stuff and whatnot. So it's been an exciting last week. Let's see who's here before we launch right into it. Let's look at the comments here. Dempsey says, Will Smith that like button. Not just Will Smith, smash the subscribe button, right? That you got to do that. Oh, wow. And thank you, Dempsey, for being a member. I do appreciate it. Hey, Shucksy says TGI Film Threat. That could be a new t-shirt. It could be a new t-shirt. Blaming Alan is usually a good go-to plan.
I know, because we had discussed we were going to do it anyways. So.
Yeah, exactly.
Blame me for it.
That's the go-to. That's the go-to. Chris Gore jam list. Please extra play it. I have a couple of playlists I made on Spotify, and I didn't realize that on Spotify, when you make a playlist, like other people can subscribe to your playlist that you made. And I looked and I realized like a bunch of people subscribe to a couple of playlists. I don't know. I mostly listen to movie soundtracks, and it was interesting because I was watching a YouTube video of a kid talking about how John Williams stole his music.
I just saw
for
that.
Star Wars. Okay, I saw that video. Yeah. First of all, that kid's an idiot. He accused Holst the Planets, John Williams, of borrowing from that. Holst the Planets was used to temp score Star Wars. So when they created the temp score, which is the temporary music, when you're scoring a movie, you use music from other movies or symphonies as like, this is the type of music we'd like to have, right? So something similar to this. And it was the temp score. This is not new information. This is very old. I think you can even find interviews with John Williams talking about the temp score to Star Wars was Host the Planets. And he was inspired by that. It was like, hey, do something like this. And so John Williams did something like that. And he even cites the wrong thing, the wrong inspiration. One of the Host the Planets, listen to this, by the way, if you have a listening service, Apple Music, I'm not endorsing any specific one. Look up Host the Planets. Very much inspired music for Star Wars and a lot of other science fiction and genre movies, by the way.
I'm just shocked that John Williams is the only one who copies from the classic composers. No one else in the whole world does.
Clearly inspired by, but the piece of music he claims is the Imperial March is actually the music that is at the thing that inspired is as the Millennium Falcon is being tractor beamed into the Death Star. That's the score, not the Imperial March. So the kid that even did the video talking about John Williams potentially stealing it gets it wrong. I should do a response video to that guy's, because it made me mad because I knew this in the freaking 70s because I used to listen to Host the Planets. That was when you could go to a library and check out records. That is a real thing that I did. Let's go to some other comments here. Doc0777. It's Chris Gore and Alan Ng. Now the weekend can begin proper. Great.
Absolutely.
Dempsey, are there any more emojis inbound? I would love to have an Alan Love emoji.
I want an Alan Love
emoji. Glenn, Glenuccio, our producer waiting in the wings. That's got to go on the list. We need Alan emoji. We need an Alan nipple emoji. So, and Derail Gaming. Did anyone catch Samaritan? I have not. It just came out today.
I know. If we could have, we would have.
If I'd gotten up early enough and maybe gotten coffee at 6 a.m. instead of 9 a.m. But no, we will talk about that next Wednesday. It's already on our list, Derail Gaming. So thank you for that. I really can't wait to see it. John Manilang just said, hey, I just mailed you something. Alan, my wife is asking if you're from House Hufflepuff. She noticed the scarf on Mickey in your background.
Yeah, no, that's my daughter. You take these online quizzes to tell you what house you're in. And of course it changes every time you take it. But for a long time, she thought she was Hufflepuff. We bought into it. And now she's proudly Slytherin. So. I
read a statistic the other day that said that people who take online quizzes are idiots. All right. Now I'm going to move on here. Patrick Lemire says, Lorne Michaels always said about SNL, we don't go on because we are ready. We go on because it's 11:30. Yeah, well, I think he's not going to go on in the next couple of years. I really see that show getting canceled. Patrick Lemire, meanwhile, back at Nipple Threat. To War Vet, is the Batman soundtrack on your playlist? Absolutely. Which Batman soundtrack? Well, it depends. It's not on my, I have a couple playlists. What I like to do is, this is weird thing. I'll take like songs I like they're sort of in the zeitgeist, and I create a playlist for that year. Then I retire that playlist, and then I name it. And I think my playlist is 2021 is done. That's the name of the playlist. 2021 is done. The reason I do that is if I go back to previous playlists from previous years, it reminds me of that year. So I recommend this, like, just make a playlist of all your favorites, and then at the end of the year, that playlist is done. Then you start a new playlist. Then every year you create a new playlist of your favorites. I used to call them mixtapes when they were on cassettes. Anyways, so like when you do that, then you can actually go back and go, okay, 2017, you can listen to that playlist and go, well, this reminds me of 2017. So there you go. And Glenuccio says it will be done. Hell yeah. Positive fandom for $1.99. Thank you so much. Hi, gents. Can't wait to see this film. Well, we're going to see.
Yeah.
The Batman movie soundtrack by Michael Giacchino is amazing. I would agree. And Fletcher Williams, what's up, Alan and Chris? Thank you, Fletcher, for being a member. Infinite Main is also a member. What? I need online quizzes to tell me who I am. Yeah, whenever I see those, I'm like, nothing about this is accurate. It's a time waster. I feel stupider for having done a quiz. So yeah, Fletcher Williams, Chris has no chill today. No, look, I'm pre-coffee. I'm going to be in a much better mood once I've had coffee. CD Stein 69 for $4.99 says, okay, now you've opened that Pandora's box, Chris. What is your opinion? Best movie score and best movie soundtrack? Oh God, that's an impossible question to answer. I mean, I would say one of my favorite scores is Batman Begins, The Dark Knight Rises, all of that, Hans Zimmer. Of course, I like John Williams scores. The soundtrack to Jaws is vastly underrated. I mean, it created a thing. I mean, maybe it's not underrated. I'm saying, like, you all know the everyone knows that, but there are other parts of the score that are great. Not the Jaws theme, but other parts of the Jaws score. I would say that's another favorite of mine.
Mine is Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark. I almost said it wrong. Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean, anything John Williams. I more go by composers. You know, John Williams, Jerry Goldsmith, Hans Zimmer, Michael Giacchino. Giacchino, yes.
Yeah. The soundtrack, though, is still Breakfast Club. Sorry.
Okay, that's a good one. I Fletcher Williams, Pulp Fiction soundtrack is pretty boss. And I always love the Cantina music from Star Wars, says Akanika. Yeah. Thank you for being a member. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's like, and Batman Forever soundtrack. Yes, Batman Forever may not be the best Batman movie, but that soundtrack, Toxic Waltz N8, it's very good. And Elfman's Spidey score. Yeah. A lot of Danny Elfman scores tend to sound alike to me, unfortunately, like Darkman.
Pee Wee Herman's Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
It's good. Yeah. Elfman, Batman, 89. And we're going to end it here with smash the like button like Chris is smashing online quizzes. Wait, what? I literally look at those quizzes, and I've had friends like send me the results of their quizzes, and they're all stupid. You're not House Targaryen because you took a quiz on Facebook. The purpose of those quizzes is to keep you on a platform, so you keep using the platform, so you see the advertising, which is how that social media platform makes money. But let's get serious for a minute here. I knew I could make Alan smile if I just did that. I knew I could do that.
Yeah, I'm smiling.
But let's get into it here. I'm going to kick it off with 3,000 Years of Longing. This is directed by George Miller, stars Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. And this is Idris Elba's, by the way, this is the second weekend in a row that has an Idris Elba movie. Now, there is a review on the Film Threat website. Okay. And I'm going to share that right now. I'm going to share screen and show you. And the
9 out of 10 stars review.
It's a very good review. Where is this?
Just go to the homepage.
Should I go to okay, so I got to go to the homepage.
In the back.
Oh, we have a breaking review.
Yeah.
Okay, so 3,000 Years of Longing. Can you see that? Okay, cool. So our reviewer, Tanya Layden, gave it a 9 out of 10. All right. And I will say this, I can understand why you would like the trailer for this just looks glorious. Okay. The story is Idris Elba is someone who became a genie, put in a little tiny glass thing. Okay. That gets lost for there are thousands of years between the time that he is released from the it's not really a lamp, but it's just like a bodily thing. He comes out of it and of course grants you 3 wishes. And it's sort of the tragedy of all the times that this has happened throughout the thousands of years that he's been encased in this. And Tilda Swinton's character is She's a older single woman who is on a trip to give basically like a TED talk about antiquities, and she gets the bottle and unleashes Idris Elba in her hotel room, and he comes out. He's gigantic. He's so big he can barely fit. Like he's probably 50 feet tall, but he's like kind of crumpled in her room. And rather than immediately take the wish, she starts questioning wishes, like the idea that every wish is sort of a burden. It's like a curse, right? Every wish will lead to something. So she basically she ends up in this long philosophical discussion with Idris Elba's character, who is a genie. And as much as I know that there are certain type of people that would love this movie, and I did like Idris Elba explaining, I'm not going to do spoilers, by the way, but he's explaining kind of his origin and the times in which he was released, and then what the results of those things were, and what happened, and how he's all the different people he's encountered throughout the time that he's been in there. Tilda Swinton decides to do something different and really question the idea of wishes, and ends up having a relationship with Idris Elba and bringing him back with her to England. And they stay together in her flat. I guess they would call it a flat. So the movie ends up, it's almost like a series of short films, okay, of the different people who've encountered the lamp. I found it a little too slow moving for me. It's 20 minutes too long, which I could say that about almost every movie I see these days, unless these movies are 90 minutes. And I really wanted to like this more than, this is George Miller, right? Mm-hmm. He did Mad Max series. He did, Fury Road. He, visually as a filmmaker, he's just, I'd love to see what he does, with, if they ever let him play in the DC universe, right? He was supposed to do Justice League Dark at some point. I think Guillermo del Toro was also attached to that, but I just felt it was just a little too slow moving and a little too, it's when you see the trailer, you're drawn in by all these fantastical things. Those are the flashbacks. The stories happening in present day is the relationship with Idris Elba and Tilda Swinton, and it just seems very unlikely and kind of sad. There's a sadness about it. I don't know, maybe that's how you're supposed to feel. Maybe upon second viewing, I would like it more. I saw this film about a month ago, and it didn't wow me. So if I would give it a recommendation, it would be a mild recommendation, just to see it because A, George Miller made it, and B, you may respond differently to it. I feel films like this are like a Rorschach test in a way. Like I'm responding where I'm like, okay, I know that there's people in the audience that are going to get incredibly emotional about what's happening. That didn't happen with me. So I had a mixed reaction to it, mm-hmm. and I expected just a more cohesive story.
Well, I mean, it sounds like it depends on that conversation between Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba. I mean, did that stand out to you at all, or?
Well, I mean, you could rename this movie My Dinner with Jeannie, because it's mm-hmm. basically like it's basically a long conversation between Tilda Swinton's character and Idris Elba as the genie. They have this long conversation, and in it, he kind of tells these tragic stories of, when he's dealt with people with wishes. Uh-huh. I wanted to like this film more, in particular because of the trailer, but I felt it was very slow moving, which I feel is purpose. It's on purpose, yeah. Right? Like the stuff that happens in the past, once it tells those stories, but they're all pretty awful, right? Yeah. these
I mean,
stories.
it's clear from the review that Tanya really connected with that conversation. With
See,
the
that's
opinions
the
and
thing.
ideas.
I don't think her review is wrong. What did she give it?
She gave it a 9 out of 10.
She gave it a 9 out of 10. So your mileage is going to vary on this, right? 9 out of 10. And it's written by George Miller and Augusta Gore. No relation, as far as I know. But yeah, she says here, ultimately, however, the 3,000 years of longing is about bearing the weight of pure love and no one willing to ease the burden, yet resolving to give it away freely nonetheless. The movies like this, it almost depends on like what mood you're in. And I just feel like I wasn't in the mood for something kind of slow, long, heady with these sort of gorgeous historical flashbacks. So not for me. Your mileage may vary, but look, you've got like a mixed review from me. I give it a C+, but then like our reviewer on the website, see, this is what reviewer on the website gave it 9 out of 10 and loves it. So this is what we focus on Film Threat. It's diversity of thought and diversity of opinion. And so there we are. I don't know. Alan, you saw the trailer, right?
I saw the trailer. I mean, I kind of expected something like this. I think what the trailer was really pushing was its fantastical visuals.
Right.
And that's kind of what I got out of the trailer. And yeah, I think there was, you did get the sense that there's something deeper, more philosophical behind it. And it sounds like there was. And it sounded like that deeper philosophical is what the movie's about and not necessarily the visuals going on.
Yeah, no, I don't know. I really wanted to like this film more. And I feel like I feel like it's one of those things, depends on the mood. Like another film like that, I would say, is Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Mm-hmm.
I really love that film. It's like a really good, like if you're depressed and you want to be more depressed or realize I love that movie. It's to me, that's the perfect movie to watch on Valentine's Day. Akanika asks, what about the acting? The acting's great. I mean, Tilda Swinton, she's amazing. I mean, she's fantastic. And Idris Elba, love him. But I will say, I think this movie's not going to do well at the box office. I don't think they know how to market it. This is basically, it's a blockbuster budget, but it's an art film.
Yeah. And it's a star-driven film too.
Right.
You'd never even consider this movie unless it didn't have Tilda Swinton and Idris Elba in it. So, of course, Chris leaves, me not having seen this movie.
You can go to comments, Alan.
Yeah, I know. We can do it. So, okay. So, Elba everywhere. There you go. Is it a chick flick? Is it a chick flick?
Yeah, you know what? That may be it. It might be because it's a chick flick. It really is more of a chick flick. And it's, Tilda Swinton's character, she's a lonely woman, a lonely older woman, and having long conversations about love and meaning of life, but in to me, not an interesting way. So I don't know. I think what I do think about this is when I look at movies like this, they're very ambitious, fantastical. What was that Robin Williams movie where he dies?
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Now it's going to bother you.
I know.
Now it's going to bother you. But there's like, it's like, it really depends on your mood. So basically not the Batman. So Tilda Swinton playing Tilda Swinton. Bethel Games, Idris Elba should look out or he will make as many films as Bruce Willis or Nicolas Cage. Well, yes, he's maybe on that pathway. Patrick Lee, I'm surprised this wasn't pitched as a comedy starring The Rock and Chris Rock. That would have been fun. Two War Vet says, he's big, he's huge, he doesn't fit. And that's a quote from me. Not the Batman. He's like, lady, I'm just a genie. It's a curse. I don't know about all your stupid questions. Now they get into it. I mean, they get into this philosophical discussion about love and true love. And she's in fear of making a wish that will make her life worse. because that's pretty much what happens in any tale regarding wishes. Shuxy says, who doesn't like long, sexy philosophical discussions? If that's your jam, this is your movie of the year. Patrick Lemire, damn, Idris, after 3,000 years, you might want to play the field a bit. And then Better Than Beast, yes. Cameron Montillo, Better Than Beast, 100% Better Than Beast. So Beast was hot garbage. This is mixed review from me, but from our reviewer on the website, and we disagree. You know, we for certain films, when there's a lot of disagreement on filmthreat.com, we'll actually run multiple reviews just to represent different opinions. The trailer looks like a trippy Chanel ad, says Patrick Lemire.
I have to say, Robin Williams' career is prolific, but it's What Dreams May Come.
What Dreams May Come. That's another movie that I responded to it at the time I saw it because my kids were young, and it involves there's the thing involving kids in that film that kind of got me, but I could also see other people seeing it and saying, that's hot garbage. Like there's a really great, this thing, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you this story later because it's way off topic, but this is probably why you're here. So, because I go off on many segues when we
pontificates.
But Patton Oswalt did a comedy bit where he talked about seeing the movie Jerry Maguire with his brother on Christmas Day, and it's a funny bit. And he talks about just how much he hated the movie Jerry Maguire, and I actually like that movie.
I like Jerry Maguire.
I like Jerry Maguire for. I know. Go ahead, mock me all you want. Mock
it's probably the best. It's probably the best of the philosophical Cameron Crowe movies.
Well, it's the thing that the whole thing about having a mission statement, that's about having purpose in life.
Yeah.
And the old manager that's kind of giving him, that kind of comes in every once in a while is trying to remind him what purpose is. We've lost that. I think we have a generation. We have a generation that's completely lost that.
Yeah.
That is depressed all the time. And it's why are you depressed? Because you don't have purpose. And we don't even have a purpose as a community, as a society. We have multiple purposes that are kind of going off in different directions. But I feel when we had inspiring leaders, there's not a lot of inspiring leadership, let's just say, in the world of politics these days.
Yeah. Well, we're so focused on tearing down white supremacy that we have no, it's we're tearing this country apart as opposed to living that American dream, so to speak. And we're even tearing that apart. Well, is the most frustrating thing.
The American dream is completely unreachable for working people, Yeah. Look, I don't own a house. What am I doing in Pasadena? I like to live in a walkable city. This reminds me of where I grew up in Michigan. It's very, it's very, very working class, blue collar town, but also it's got museums and dive bars. What am I doing here?
Yeah. I will say, I think people didn't like Jerry Maguire because there is so much sermonizing that goes on with it.
Yeah, there is, but I feel like we need a little bit of that. You need a little bit. First of all, and I say this whenever I talk to indie filmmakers, you need because a lot of books, they'll say, go for your dream, which I think is a stupid thing to say to people. Because go for your dream is here's some rope, and you give someone enough rope, and they'll, they could end themselves. But what I'm saying is you need 10% of this passionate whatever, but then you need 90% of that has got to be just knowledge, basic knowledge, whether it's finances, whatever, you've got to have that. But the 10%, but the thing is, we're missing the 10%. I remember back when presidents cared about actually being a moral leader and guiding the country, or even condemning things that happen that are awful in the world or in our country. When you hear of something terrible happening, leaders would come up and they would say, they would condemn this thing that happened, right? Something that is clearly morally wrong, right?
Yeah. Maybe student debt.
Well, I don't know. Well, don't.
I know we're not supposed to go.
That's a whole other thing. Look, I'm a college dropout, by the way. I'm a college dropout that wrote a book that at some colleges you have to read, and I give speeches at colleges on occasion. I will do that.
Yeah.
But
I worked long and hard to pay off my student debt.
Yeah, no, that's a whole other thing
Yeah.
that I think it sends the wrong message. I think it's terrible. I think that will end up being a terrible decision.
Mhm.
I also don't think it's going to hold up in court. So don't count your discount before it's hatched.
Because I was going to invest in student loans and take a couple out.
They've already extended it to next year, so you still don't have to pay your student loans. But I don't think it's going to hold up. I don't think it's going to hold up. I think this is being announced before the midterms, and then it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's an issue all of America is invested in. Yeah.
I dream of long philosophical discussions with Jeannie, says Shucksy.
Sorry.
No way. Yeah. Fletcher Williams, Chris, pro Rorschach testing, anti-online quizzes. Thanks, Fletcher Williams. Patrick Lemire, 9 is a strong review. I mean, a 9 would be great for almost everyone. There you go. Shelby AC says, kind of sounds biblical. Yeah, it is. There are biblical aspects to this. And GD's lives matter, says Fletcher Williams.
Whoa, be careful.
I'm inundated. I'm inundated with comments here. I don't think I'm going to get to all of them.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
The only thing America should be tearing apart is Alan's nipples, says Flaccid Phoenix. Yeah. So, and 3,000 years will give you such a crick in the neck, says Jeannie. Geek Truth 64. Dave Campbell became a new YouTube member. Spidey Sensei 72 became a YouTube member. Well, go to the members tab and you'll see like all the other pictures and videos that we post. The release date indicates the studio isn't super excited, says Patrick Lemire. That's true. If they had confidence in this movie, they would have opened it during the summer, or they would have opened it closer to what they call award season, which is, well, kind of starting now. But I don't think this movie is going to get that kind of thing.
You know, it's the difference between the big Hollywood blockbuster and then the smaller Hollywood movies, and that's what we have here. You know, studios depend on the Batman and all the superhero films, all the the Top Guns to make their big money. You know, these are their small indie projects.
Yeah. Okay. Could you? Okay. So Laura Buckle says, Tilda Swinton sounds like an odd choice for this movie. I would agree. Toxic Waltz N8 says it's called The American Dream because you got to be asleep to believe it, which is a quote from George Carlin, the great George Carlin. All right, Alan. Remember we talked about this. You're gonna unstar the comments after I've read the comments.
Yeah, I have been doing that. It's just look. You've gone through a lot. They're all unstarred. There you go.
No, unstarred in StreamYard.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is you read them, we unstar them.
Okay, let's go. I'm cranky today.
I know. It's like we did. Sorry, I missed the 2. Jeez.
Because I've been doing it. I can't. Oh my god.
I've been doing it too.
All right, guys.
At least unstarred 15 comments.
Let's stay focused here, guys. This trailer truly is deceptive, says Spidey Sensei 72. I don't think the trailer for 3,000 Years of Longing is deceptive. I think it makes it look like much more of an action movie than it actually is. Because it's not. It's a long. It's again my dinner with a genie. It's this long conversation with Tilda Swinton, who basically wants to fuck Idris Elba. That's pretty much.
I mean, you kind of get that, but I think there's they're selling the sizzle and not the steak.
All right, I'm confused, so I'm gonna unstar the comments I know.
Okay.
That I already said because I'm going to the comments here.
And plus, you're not going in order. That's the other thing.
This is like, think of this as a quiz. Crank up the crankiness, says Mob 19001. Hell yeah. I like cranky Chris, says Shucksy. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Walk away, Alan. Chris doesn't deserve you, says Adam.
I know. That's the backstage chatter.
Wait, I'm just going to go through and unstar the comments in StreamYard that I've already said, because Anyways,
But yeah, I saw you unstarred the one. Yeah.
All right, Infinite Main for 5
Yeah,
says,
not the
did you
one.
see Jeremy Johns posted an RRR review this week? The word is spreading about RRR. Thank you, Infinite Main. And yeah, someone definitely mentioned that Jeremy Johns. It's great that he discovered it 6 months after we talked about it. No, 5 months. So no, it's fine. I actually don't care. I want people to see this movie. I've been trying to get certain people to see this film because what it does is it stands in contrast to a film that's, like this film, which is very self-indulgent. I feel like this is the problem with 3,000 Years of Longing. It's incredibly self-indulgent. George Miller made, Mad Max Fury Road, very commercial, broad appeal, financially successful, critically successful, because it has some woke stuff in it, a little woke elements to throw a bone to people that care about that stuff. But overall, an incredibly enjoyable film. I mean, for the guy on the guy with the guitar and the giant speakers that's, to me, just that alone is so great. I love it. But but this is incredibly self-indulgent. He's like, this is the one for George Miller made an art film with the budget of a blockbuster film. So for that alone, it's like, I don't know, you got to admire the effort. But God, we got a lot more films to talk about. So let's switch gears here. Let's switch gears. And we're going to talk about this only because Alan wants to discuss it. Only because Alan wants to talk about it. I'm trying to find a good image here.
Yeah. I mean, all I can say is I'm glad you're starting to get some of the comment hate for your views on She-Hulk. It's not just me.
I don't care. I think that, unfortunately, let me talk about some mistakes that I think that we made. Is that we reviewed the first 4 episodes. When you see the first 4 episodes of something like this, it gives you a broader perspective about what it is, because the first episode isn't the show. The second episode is what the show. It's a courtroom drama sitcom.
Yeah.
Right.
In fact, it is pretty much the pilot of She-Hulk.
The second episode should have been the pilot. Ultimately, they should have taken the first episode, which was her origin, put it in the middle of the show. Or my understanding is that all of the material that was in the first episode was a series of flashbacks. They edited them together, which is why it feels so kind of choppy.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have mentioned that it feels kind of choppy and off. So yeah, I did see that Paul Chato watched episode 2 and he liked it, now that you kind of see what it's settled into. But Alan, I didn't want to talk about this today. You want to talk about it. So let's talk about it for the next few minutes and we'll go to some quick comments here. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, this is indicative of what the rest of the show is like. And in terms of the comedy, it is a sitcom, and I would call it a kind of a B- grade sitcom in terms of the jokes are somewhat rehashed from sitcoms of the 90s. But I did find funny elements to it. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy the fact I did enjoy Jen Walters as a character. And I think when people say it's woke, I still say it's not woke, because the things you would think is woke, they actually poke fun at it. There's a joke where Jen Walters is kind of a chatty woman, and the joke is made at her expense for being that chatty woman. There's also, she got fired not because she was a woman, but she was a superhero. There are just elements and themes in there that you just don't associate with being woke, and they do poke fun at it. What is it? Oh yeah, she wanted to be that empowered lawyer, and so she demands that she choose her own paralegal, and her boss just, I don't really care who you hire as a paralegal. Kind of taking the steam out of it. So, by bringing up what could be seen as woke elements and making fun of it, I think you take the steam out of the show being a woke show. And so, and I will say this, I believe with Paul Chato, the real heart of the series happened near the back end when she does interact with Abomination. And you do hear his story. And this is where that kind of sitcom, that light lawyer drama comes in. I will say though, I love seeing cousin Larry as her dad.
Well, I mean, look, they finally settled into what the show is with episode 2, and we'll see. You're either going to like that kind of show or not. And I respect people's opinions that they don't like the show. That's fine. That's fine. I think some of it feels a little like they're ignoring some of the things that actually, like the fact that it's very clear in the first episode that the Hulk is stronger than She-Hulk. It's made explicitly clear when they have a rock throwing contest, and it ends with Bruce Banner, Professor Hulk, throwing a boulder into the atmosphere where it burns up, and she just concedes, yes, you are stronger. Why is that ignored in every negative review?
Well, they talk about the fight between the two of them, that he should have clearly won that fight.
Right.
At the same time, you have to understand he's smart Hulk. And two, I think there's an element where he understands he has to pull back on his powers for the sake of this fight. That I think he knew the fight had to happen, and he wasn't going to go full Hulk at that point.
He's not going to murder his cousin, right? Yeah. I mean, he's the Hulk. I feel like this is a Zen version of the Hulk. He's very Zen about things now. Like, sort of, he's gotten to a certain place where it's like, okay, I accept the burden of what this is. I have to keep it under control, kind of like, some sort of health crisis. Yeah. You got to keep it under control.
I do like the part where, I'm sorry, I do like the part where he's talking about Abomination, and he says, yeah, when I encountered the Abomination, I was a different person, literally.
Yes, that was funny. That was funny. But no, and the thing is this, if history proves right, Disney, Marvel, the Marvel series on Disney Plus always end up poorly. They have, I don't think there's been a one that's had a satisfying ending. Correct me if I'm wrong, please. Has there been any Disney Marvel Plus series that may have started out both good or bad?
Had a great ending, you're saying?
That had like a really good ending. We're like, oh man, that series is so great. Hope they make a season 2. Or you know what? That was a great story that needed to be told.
I think WandaVision, to me, WandaVision comes closest to that, but not the others.
No, none. And then also additionally, like, I feel that the problem that I have with these Marvel series on Disney Plus is it's all the inconsequential stuff that happens between the movies. Like, nothing matters. Like, now we've gotten to the place where really nothing matters in the movies anyways, the Marvel movies, which is why Phase 4 was just didn't really mean anything. It felt like felt like nothing that happened in Phase 4 Marvel meant anything. And now you've got the Marvel series on Disney Plus that mean less than anything. They just mean less than that, even, because they're the inconsequential things that happen between the movies, meaning you should not have to watch the Marvel series on Disney Plus to be able to enjoy the movies. But I guess for Doctor Strange, you had to. And this show is just self-contained. Every episode, there are some conflicts that carry over from episode to episode, which is fine. It's like a series arc, a season arc. And then you've got like the episode, your A story and your B story. And it's an incredibly simple show. And I kind of feel like that they settled into a very, like, a popular, tried and true sitcom, a legal sitcom format that works. It's like, that's a type of show that works. Just make that. And, when they broke that, when they did the kind of She-Hulk origin on Hulk's party island, that didn't work for people as a first episode. So I would just say, I would say if you have an open mind, stick with it. And if you don't like it,
there's nothing you can say to convince someone who doesn't like it, who has that extreme Marvel hate at the moment. And I get it. I understand why you feel that way. And I feel bad that this is the casualty of that. I mean, I will say, and I get called out on this all the time, this is the best Disney Plus series out there right now that they've done. And whenever people call me out, I always answer the same question: which one was better than this? And no one has that answer yet.
Well, Fletcher Williams, right on the money with this comment. Alan needs to get that Disney money.
Yeah, believe me, they're going to treat me well at D23.
Dempsey, speaking of She-Hulk, how is the Disney trial coming along? We're in the middle of we've had sort of a changing of the guard on producers. And it's a good thing it happens. Life happens to people. So Flaccid Phoenix still involved in the channel. We have Glanuccio is here taking care of us, and we're going to be transitioning to our trial. Probably going to start that like right around the time that Andor happens. Attorney Wu would beat She-Hulk in court, though. I completely agree. I think Attorney Wu, thank you, not the Batman. Extraordinary Attorney Wu is the better. I think that's a much better show on Netflix, and that's more of a drama than a comedy. Has comedy elements, and Fat Elvis says, "Man, bad." See, the thing is this: yes, there are bad men in She-Hulk, and there are good men in She-Hulk. You can't ignore that there are good male characters. There are good male characters, and there are bad male characters. You can't just focus only on the bad male characters.
Yeah, and it's a sitcom, but to that point, there is that misogynist male character that's working in the DA office in LA. How in the world does LA allow a man like that to continue to work for them?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that our leadership here in Los Angeles is pretty freaking awful.
Yeah.
218 says,
but they're woke awful. And that a guy like that would never exist in the DA's office.
I haven't minded She-Hulk, but my favorite parts were both end credit scenes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that. Cameron Montillo, the fourth wall is outstaying its welcome. No, I would say it's okay. It's not overused. It's only once or twice an episode, and I think that's all you need. It's not. I don't think it's overused. I think when you watch it in its entirety, Alan's going to be in the Disney parade this week.
Oh, if only.
Fletcher Williams.
If only.
Bethel Games, Be Attorney, superhero sitcom, but at least it does have a big green dancing baby. There you go. Dempsey, She-Hulk writer, also wrote Pickle Rick, so take that what you will. That's cool. And how is Abomination going to get parole? He destroyed a city. Says Fletcher Williams. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, we'll find out.
Episode 3.
218. I think people have to approach She-Hulk as if it's only half canon. It can't really be judged as if it's alongside Avengers or other shows. It's just its own thing. I would agree. I think it's just its own thing. Its own like a comic run. Like canon can be burdensome, especially when you've got decades when in the comics, right? It's like, okay, you're trying to thread that needle and tell like an original story. I think the best thing is not to necessarily ignore canon, but to tell a story outside the canon that fits, if that makes sense.
I mean, if you think about it, like Abomination is on trial, and in the next few episodes it'll be Wong in a way. So they're not. It's not like they're going after Captain America and Iron. The OGs. It's the side characters that they're going after.
But Bruce can't control his anger because he was never tested in life, like getting catcalled. Well, Shucksy, let me just say, I don't know. I kind of feel like, catcalled. I guess that's I don't know. I don't really. I've never even seen anything like that. Does that really?
I have seen that. I have women. I have women who have said those things. Women in my life who've said those things, who felt that way, and I would say some of them I know believe that and have gone through experiences like that. My issue with that speech in the first episode is she, as a character, hadn't earned it in the sense of she's just saying it. She's just saying as if all women experience this, all women feel this way, but we didn't see anything in her life that would lead her to come up with that conclusion in her life. And that's why I think that speech would serve itself better in the middle of the series than right off the bat.
Well, and then the other thing she does say is fear of actually getting, physically attacked or murdered. And that, I hate to say the show takes place in Los Angeles. Yeah. That's a real possibility.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing of this town has become crime ridden and dangerous. There are parts of LA as a city that I just avoid. It's worse than Detroit. Mm-hmm. So there you go. Really old movie says, what about the scene where she says she contains her anger better than him? Yeah, look, people are really, really hung up on that scene. Yeah. And it's I don't know, has she really gotten to know Bruce? they're having that conversation. She's perfectly within her right to have those feelings, I believe, because that is a real, Los Angeles is such a shithole now. I mean, just like it's horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, you hear that more in LA and New York than you do in the rest of the country, I think.
That's true. And then Flaccid Phoenix is here. Says this series is so off tone for what people want out of the Hulk. Only Funko Pop fans want this from Bruce. Yeah, I do think this may be a setup for like.
I mean, you're not wrong. That's you're not wrong.
Shuxy says, well, when I see a good male character in She-Hulk, I'll let you know. I think there have been. Doesn't she have a coworker that's Retro Nerd Girl says
you have a coworker that's male and not a misogynist.
Not a jerk. Like, yeah, and Emil Blonsky is kind of a good person too, or he's come to that. Retro Nerd Girl says, I'm enjoying She-Hulk for what it is setting up for a broader story about the Hulk on Sakaar for a future project. I am really excited about that. We're talking about World War Hulk.
I thought we had World War Hulk already.
Patrick Lemire says, I like the old school sitcom thing, but there's no real arc. You can pop in an old Newhart and not be lost. No, but I feel like with this, you can mostly do that. I mean, it's there's not a real arc for her, but that's a trope of sitcoms. At the end of the sitcom, everybody's the same. Nobody grows. There's no growth. There's no change. A sitcom trope is at the end of the show, you just see everyone's.
I think there's an arc, but I think it's happening over the course of the 9 episodes, and it's slow. It's slow, but you do see her changing just by the fact that she has to deal with being a superhero, being a high-profile lawyer, and then how that changes her over the time. And I think we're seeing it. We will see it. And
catcalling and misogyny just seems to happen in the movies and TV shows. I've yet to see it in real life, says Ian Morrison, movie nutcase. Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, maybe more in the big city, like New York, LA, these kind of things happen. And that's sort of what is annoying about a lot of people who write in film and television is they need to go somewhere outside of New York and LA. They need to go to, and I don't mean Austin, Texas. I mean, like, go somewhere else. So
it does. I mean, I think the point is it does happen. I don't think it happens at the frequency that the series is leading us to believe, but it happens.
Well, let's end it here with Solomon Thornton says, I will always say that MCU should have taken a break after Endgame. Solomon Thornton, we have mentioned that like maybe after Endgame, like don't make movies for a while, or what they should have done is just rather than continue with these characters, kind of close the book on that. And then what they could have done is gone back to the 60s in a different universe and told the stories of the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. X-Men and Fantastic Four could be its own giant thing. And they could have just done that for a decade and then come back and maybe rebooted. Who knows? So yeah. And then Shuxy says, thank God I'm a man and never have to worry about getting attacked or killed. Well, first of all, Shuxy, I agree with you. I know that's true. Of course. Like, that's true. But like one thing that she has an experience and tells her experience doesn't invalidate other people's experiences. Does that make sense? It doesn't invalidate other people's experiences. So I think this is true for her, true for that character, and that's fine. And also, my guess is any sort of character change or arc is going to come in movies because what's going to happen is She-Hulk is going to be in the Avengers. That's going to happen, right? That's definitely going to happen. And I think that's where they save any of the changes. That's why these Disney Plus Marvel shows have been sort of weak to me, is that nothing really changes, right? It's like a prequel comic to a movie. It's like, all right, we already know how the movie starts, whatever. And Patrick Lemire says the trial of Lucasfilm should cover future crimes, Minority Report style. Lucasfilm is working towards the rebooting of the original trilogy with Leia as the center and Luke as being the side Jake. Really? Is that? Yeah, I mean, eventually they're going to remake it, but I don't think while George Lucas is alive. So there you go. And the end of the speech is part I don't like. Everyone has bad things happen to them, but she directly said infinitely more than you to the freaking Hulk.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with that last part there.
But wait, let me just say, Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, which to me, there would be no Marvel Cinematic Universe if he didn't play that part. And that, he was just such a force for creating the world of Marvel. And Jon Favreau deserves a lot of credit for that. And I think it came out recently that he was vehemently against killing Tony Stark. And the Russo brothers had to have a whole conversation with Jon Favreau about why they thought it was a good idea. Jon Favreau was like, you can't kill Tony Stark. He was like really against it. But Tony Stark started as a selfish asshole, right? He started as a selfish asshole and became a selfless person who gave his life.
Who committed a selfless act.
Who committed a selfless act. Characters where they begin is not necessarily how they're going to end. And if they're going to have an arc, it's boring to have people be perfect. That's why Captain Marvel's such an awful character.
Yeah.
She's perfect in the beginning and perfect at the end. I can't tell you that Jennifer Walters is perfect. She's not. And her lack of empathy for her cousin Bruce is a thing. And at some point she may come to understand the pain and suffering that he's gone through. Because she was literally gifted these powers in a way that like has benefited her. Where for the Hulk, it's been a curse.
Yeah, it was a fight. I think that was the whole point in the first Avengers movie, that he's always angry, that this was something he had to control. And at that point in time, he still was not able to control his rage, his anger, and when the Hulk comes out.
So that speech, and I agree with you, Dempsey. It's like, yeah, okay, yes. But she has an opportunity to now experience things that will change her outlook. Characters that are perfect are rarely interesting. They're just not. And I think she comes preloaded with some flaws that might be considered common. A little bit of narcissism, a little bit of just like a little too selfish, a little make it all about me. Well, maybe that's gonna change in over the course of how She-Hulk is used both in the television show and the upcoming movies.
Yeah, I would say that this may be controversial, but this is the problem I have with Superman, is he's perfect versus Batman who struggles and has a dark side. And I think that's why I think Superman's stories are harder to tell than Batman's stories.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I like where they were kind of going with Man of Steel. Like, I feel like that was, what we could have a whole that movie holds up way better.
I did not like Man of Steel. So.
That movie holds up way better. I'm just posting some comments here because we got way too much to do.
Yeah.
She-Hulk's origin is terrible. She should have been in the wreck, gotten knocked out, and Bruce has no choice but to give her blood to save her.
The comic book origin is so much better with the blood transfusion than the happenstance crossing of blood.
Yeah, I think they just, I don't
There's
know.
a shortcut.
There's probably a way they could have done it. I don't know.
Yeah, he could have given her a blood transfusion.
Yeah, he could have given her a blood transfusion. Look, it is what it is. Bruce never had unqualified men like Stark talk to him about his area of expertise. Like
if he had given her the blood transfusion, that puts a little onus on him for giving her his powers, and that now he has a little guilt there that he can deal with in the futures, somewhere down the road.
Right. All right. Cool.
And I'm just saying, there's a better storytelling there.
All right. Well, let's switch gears here, because we're gonna have this Hulk discussion for a while. We're gonna have this Hulk discussion, She-Hulk,
especially when Madison shows up,
for quite some time. But let's get into. I don't really have a good graphic for this. I guess it's all. What can you say? But let's get into a movie called Breaking. Breaking is starring John Boyega as a troubled veteran who pulls off a bank robbery. He goes to this. You meet him and his family. He's in the midst of a divorce, separation from his wife. He's very close with his young daughter, and he's struggling. He's struggling to just make it through life. And his character in Breaking goes to a bank, hands a note to the teller that he has a bomb in his backpack. clears the bank. There are only 2 people left in the bank, and it ends up being a standoff. He's very concerned that he wants to get on the news. He wants news trucks. He wants people to be there to hear his message. And you end up discovering that all he wants is the money he's owed for his disability from the Veterans Administration, from the VA. And it's about $900. That's it. Just transfer $900 to my account and I'm going to leave. It's based on a true story. This is a real thing that happened. And, I'm not going to get into what happened, but it's based on a true story. Now, this is a movie that is just okay. The movie's just okay. It's a bank heist thriller. The movie's okay. John Boyega is great. And this happens a lot where you'll see just an okay movie, but a great actor. And John Boyega, it's not like anything he's ever played. It's not Finn. He's not charming. I would say you empathize with his plight, but I would say he's not charming, and he's definitely unhinged. And it's a taut thriller that gets a little over the top. You're like, I can't believe there's like helicopters, there's trucks, they've got like a 3-screen computer set up with like graphics, and you're like, it's a little far-fetched that like that much would happen within the course of a couple hours. It's on the local news, whatever. I don't know necessarily about the original bank heist, but bank heists rarely go well. As a thriller, yeah, it's just okay. As a performance from John Boyega, he's fantastic in it. So I would say a mild recommendation for Breaking. It opens in theaters today, and I really wanted to like it more. I think that they're being beholden to the events of the real what really happened. I think this might have been written differently if it were Hollywood, right? But sticking with those events, what? I can't say. I can't.
Yeah. Okay. So when I watch the trailers, the thing that comes to my mind is the hashtag white man bad. Is it that kind of a story?
No, that has nothing to do with it, actually. Why? What?
I mean, that's the sense I got from the trailers, that this guy was screwed over by the white man, and he's now taking it out on in a bank hostage situation.
I didn't see it that way. I didn't notice that aspect of it. But it's now the trailer looks really good. The movie is good, but I think that a lot of it is kind of like, it feels like the sort of heist aspect of it was very by the numbers, like we've seen this kind of movie before. And then the thing that elevates it, because once you get to the bank, the whole movie takes place in the bank. Then it's all about John Boyega's performance, and he's just fantastic. He's fantastic as this character.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think they've screwed over John Boyega since Star Wars.
Right.
Like Naked Singularity, no one saw that movie, but he's really good in that one as well. He plays a public defender who's slightly morally corrupted and has to kind of work his way out of a situation he puts himself in, and that took a lot of acting chops, and I just feared they're not going to give him a chance to really show what he can do.
Yeah. Well, let's go to the comments here real quick. So the bottom line is Breaking. If you want to see a great performance by John Boyega, this is your movie, but it is kind of a by the numbers heist film, but it's also based on a true story that is tragic. So let's go to the comments here. Alan getting no DC money. John Manalang, Boyega never fails to remind of a younger Denzel Washington. He has that aspect. Like Denzel Washington is just likable because he's Denzel Washington. Even when he's doing horrible things, Denzel Washington is incredibly likable. Yeah. Breaking trailer reminded me so much of John Q, says John Manalang. Goes on to say that. Luad DCM 20. Haven't they made this movie like in 3 forms already? Yeah, this is a genre. It's the bank heist standoff. It is a film that's been made, many times.
Was it Emergency, the last one?
What's that?
That's the one with Jake Gyllenhaal and with the ambulance, and they're being chased.
I think it was just called. Wasn't it called Ambulance?
Oh, maybe it was Ambulance then. Yeah, it came out like a few months ago.
Yeah, it might have been called Ambulances, but then we had to correct it to Ambulance on the website. That's
all right.
That's an in joke.
All right.
Boyega.
I'll go unstar these comments now.
This is. All right. Dempsey, Boyega is the man. I like him more every time I see him in something. If you like John Boyega, you'll love him in this. He was so. J.J. Abrams did not know what to do with him. That's the thing. It's such a tragedy. And that whole dumb thing in The Rise of Skywalker where he keeps yelling, Rey. Like he's had all these opportunities to talk to her, but in the middle of a fight, Rey, I forgot to tell you something.
But he was barely in Rise of Skywalker. That's the worst part.
And then not only that, the whole thing, apparently there was a scene where Finn talks to Rey, the thing he's been trying to tell her this whole time. They cut the scene. And J.J. Abrams admitted that they forgot that they cut that scene. So that whole thing of him yelling never pays off because the editors, which Rise of Skywalker is the worst edited Star Wars movie that's ever existed. It's so bad. It just looks like it was done by like 5 different editors. So, but yeah, he's great. That's the thing is like, I wish the movie were better, right? I wish the movie were like, it just seems so it was almost like the movie had 2 directors, right? Like there's all the chaos of what's happening behind the scenes. There's the guy, the negotiator, who's very understanding. There's everything is a cliche and we've seen before in movies. There's all the other cops that are breathing down the neck of the negotiator. Like, come on, we have to and then there's, John Boyega. And the John Boyega parts of the movie are great. And the other part of the movie is just sort of like, we've seen this. This is like a TV show we've seen a million times. Running with Scissors says, other than True Story, didn't Denzel have a film with a similar plot? I don't know. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah.
Ian Morrison says, I definitely want to check out Breaking. I will say this. If you see it for John Boyega's performance, that's what I'll say. See it for his performance because he knocks it out of the park with the performance. And then Spidey Sensei 72 says, the VA treats us vets like trash, so I can see this happening. The suicide rate for veterans is high as hell. Yeah, that aspect alone, which I wish they had pushed that a little bit more. The fact that he literally, I just want the money that the VA owes me, which is like $900. That was it. That was why he was in the bank. He wasn't trying to hurt anybody. He wasn't trying to get a ton, thousands of dollars. Just wanted what he was owed. And he wanted to get it on the news. So yeah, Spidey Sensei. Yeah, for that alone, I recommend it for that aspect. Solomon Thornton, Disney really did Boyega wrong. He deserves much better. He's a great actor. Yeah, for sure. And then someone says randomly, Alan's nipples. Well, you have to be more specific. When you say Alan's nipples, I mean, do you mean this?
My nipples look like milk duds.
You got to be really specific. There are many Alan nipple videos. So let's make sure that we're focused on that. Is this one of Michael K. Williams' last roles, says Spidey Sensei 72? I believe it is. I believe this is.
Yeah.
So yeah. And he's very good. I mean, that's a thing. God, I wanted to like this more. I just wanted to like this movie a lot more. So many vets are screwed over by the VA, though. Sad but true. Well, for this alone, it's worth seeing because the whole point of what John Boyega's character was trying to do was just to call attention to this problem. And he wanted news trucks. He wanted CNN to be there. He mentions when are the news trucks getting here? Because he wanted to bring to light this issue. So Chris is just describing what I call the Gene Hackman effect. An actor who gives a great performance in an average movie. Gene Hackman almost never gave a bad performance, even in average movies, says Spaceman. That's true. This is the Gene Hackman effect. It's like the movie is like by the numbers, seen it, and then John Boyega is great, and Michael K. Williams.
Yeah, I think of Hoosiers. Hoosiers is just a movie that comes out of nowhere, but he's incredible in that film.
Scott Slaughterberg says, inspired by true events gives you a lot of latitude.
Yep.
True. And Boyega may be the most underutilized person that was ever in Star Wars. What a tragedy for the story and for his legacy. I'm happy to see that they didn't let Disney Plus him. Yeah, Dempsey, I'm really interested when he said that comment. So when he said that, it's just like, no, like they diminished the size of his head on the Chinese posters. They like didn't pay off his characters. And there you go. John, long last name, says, someone make a Ren and Stimpy of Chris and Alan, please. We know exactly who we're going to be. Right?
Do we?
Yeah. All right. Well,
yeah, we do actually. We do.
Ren and Stimpy, who
I know.
Who am I?
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, no. The rules are clear.
There's only one way that goes.
Yeah.
Adrian Denton says, The Rise of Skywalker should be watched and to learn how to not write and make a film. I would agree with that. And Finn should have died in The Last Jedi, and he would have been in the pantheon of heroes. They screwed Boyega 5 ways to Sunday, says Patrick Lemire. Yeah, they had that like great moment, like where like, oh, like he gives him like, when have we seen that? Like that would have been amazing.
So they sifted him, basically.
And Anonymous, what are your favorite bank heist movies? I would say Heat, probably Heat. And actually what's funny is Ambulance, the bank heist part is actually the best part of that movie. And then once it gets to the ambulance, it's sort of annoying. But I would
first
say
thing that comes to my mind is the Amazing Dobermans.
I would say Heat is probably the best. Like so good. But thanks, Anonymous. Finn could have been the best part of the sequels. I feel like they were afraid he'd overshadow Rey, so they downplayed him, says Laura Buckles. Yeah, I agree with that. Like I had there's actually on the channel, look up, I did a video after The Last Jedi came out, and I thought, oh, I know how episode 9 is going to go, how everything's going to pay off. Of course, I was completely wrong. And so I, God, like it just was such a disappointment. But I did a theory video, and it's search the Film Threat YouTube channel, search for franchise forecast, or just look up Star Wars. We have a lot of Star Wars videos, but this one is called Franchise Forecast, and it's a 5-minute video I made with Bobby Schwartz, and he and also like just sort of laying out like theories of what was going to happen. So Inside Man, that's a good one. Mm-hmm. And when are you guys going to do a review of Samaritan, says Ian Morrison. We're going to do it next Wednesday. Didn't have a chance to see it.
We couldn't wake up early enough to.
And Mooney had to. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it just came out today. Like I haven't seen it. And then, wow, check out Alan's shoulder. He might have dislocated it with that reach just now. And Zach says, Alan, that was dangerously close to criticizing Disney.
I know. I have to watch that.
All right. Well, be careful, Alan. All right. Let's switch gears here, and we're going to talk briefly. We have filmmakers coming on to talk to us today. But let's talk about funny pages. Let's talk about funny pages here. Alan and I both saw Funny Pages and had different reactions to it. I love this film. I know the people in this movie. There are people that frequent comic book stores and won't leave. There are people that buy comics or just read comics and will not leave your store. And those are my people. I love that. And the lead character is this kid who aspires to be a comic book artist. He doesn't like superheroes at all. He likes funny superheroes or funny comics like Peter Baggy with neat stuff. So if you're familiar with that. And so a lot of these indie comics are incredibly sexual. And he aspires to write like those, draw those comics. And he tells his parents, look, I'm not going to go to college. I'm going to just work a job and I'm going to draw the comic that I want to do. His parents think he's crazy. So he drops out, moves into a horribly gross living arrangement where he's living in the basement of something that is the most disgusting apartment you've ever seen, but he's happy because it's his own place and he's able to just draw and do his art. And it's one of those indie films that's a character study, and I just love this movie. Now, your mileage may vary. There's a lot of stuff in it that like his living situation that's like so gross, it's gonna like really turn you off. And what happens is in the story is he befriends a guy who's come in to this lawyer's office because he's having some legal issues. He was in an altercation and is having some legal problems with regard to an altercation with a pharmacist. But this character learns that, like, hey, you know, you used to work for Image Comics, and it's so then he just wants to befriend this guy, wants to be mentored. He's searching for a mentor, but this guy is incredibly mentally unhinged, and things go completely wrong when he invites this guy over for Christmas dinner. Alan, what did you think of Funny Pages? I personally loved it.
Yeah.
It's one of those character studies. Like, look, the story even is not as important as the fact that it's really a profile of this character, kind of like Napoleon Dynamite, right? Napoleon Dynamite, when you think of Napoleon Dynamite, you don't think of the story, you think of the character, you know, of John Heder as Napoleon Dynamite. And the same thing with this movie. You're not thinking so much about, like, you know, the story. It's a character study. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, you know, I'm not the biggest fan. I like stories. I like characters going from point A to point B and kind of have an arc there. You know, when we saw it, and you immediately said that it was a great movie, I'm like, ooh, okay, what did I miss? And I think what I missed was, I think there's a lot of inside baseball. I think there's a lot. So I'm just trying to get my body in position with these feet. You know, the very inside baseball. There are a lot of aspects of indie comics, the indie comic community, that I'm just unaware of because I only stayed with Marvel, mostly Marvel my childhood. And so, you know, I've never really been attracted to these character study type movies. Even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I was completely frustrated with because there was no linear storyline that I could follow, and I kind of felt that way here. What I did like, though, is there's, you know, the apartment he had to live in. Oh my god, how do people live that way? And then you realize that's how people live, like, in New York. And then the crazy characters. Wallace is the one that stands out, the Image Comics assistant colorist or whatever. You know, to me, I found that character the most fascinating, just because of just how odd he is, and you really start to understand kind of how his brain works eventually through this movie. So yeah, I was just kind of very mixed on it. I did not enjoy it as much as you did. Definitely.
Well, I'll say this, Alan. You need to diversify your media diet. If you're only reading superhero comics, you're missing a whole other world of comics, right? Like Robert Crumb,
Yeah.
like just you know, Peter Baggy, or
Mhm.
8 Ball with Daniel Clowes. Like, these are comics I used to read. And I don't know, for those of you in the chat,
Yeah.
like, if you used to read those kind of comics, like, I love those. It's like, okay, I like when superhero comics are good, but I found that most of them, you know, most of the time, you know, Frank Miller's not writing all the comics, or
Mhm.
Alan Moore, right? There
Yeah.
are runs of comics when you've got a really good writer, illustrator team on a particularly good character, like a Daredevil. Like, that's great. That's or a Batman with Frank Miller. You know, when you've got something like that, that's something that's very special, right? Very
Yeah.
special for a superhero comic. But
Oh,
I
yeah.
also would
Yeah.
supplement my superhero comic book buying habit with Peter Baggy and Neat Stuff, and 8 Ball with Daniel Clowes, and you know, I don't know, Love
Yeah.
and Rockets.
I mean, you're bringing up a time that was pre-internet, in the sense of, you know, I lived in the South Bay of Los Angeles, so Torrance, you know, just south of South Central, Torrance, Long Beach, all that stuff. We only had one comic book store that I could get to, and it was just Marvel and DC at that point. That's
Well,
what they sold. And so this world that you that you know, completely unknown to me at that point.
That's fine. That's fine. I would recommend that you partake in some of these. Scott Slaughterbeck says Funny Pages looks interesting. It's fun. It's fun, but it's also like it's not a haha laugh out loud comedy in that sense. It's black comedy and it's a character study, and I would compare it to something like a Napoleon Dynamite. Toxic Waltz N8 says this is from the spawn of Kevin Kline and Phoebe Cates. That's true. Well, you can ask the director. Owen Kline is going to be here in about a half an hour.
Oh, is that? Okay.
Shelby AC says, I don't know. Some of these indie people had serious depression issues and they get way too dark for me sometimes. That is very accurate. Patrick Lemire, I think it probably helps if you spent a ton of time in comic book store type environments. High Fidelity is my Saving Private Ryan as far as flashbacks. That's funny. Bethel Game says, a film about a guy who wants to draw comics like Fritz the Cat, but I prefer heavy metal. Oh, that's
we had heavy metal at least in our comic store.
Yeah. Dempsey says, or does anyone ever remember Yummy Fur by Chester Brown? Yummy Fur was weird, man. Yummy Fur was weird. You gotta check out Yummy Fur if you can. Chester Brown, a Canadian comic writer, artist. Dempsey says, I'm going to check it out, but I can't help but be reminded of Freddy Got Fingered from the way you describe it. Well, I like this much better than Freddy Got Fingered, but it's also like, it's a character study. It's not like, it doesn't follow your traditional, like I say, Napoleon Dynamite, but Napoleon Dynamite is kind of hopeful and this character that's like very optimistic in light of like just, he's sort of not aware that he's a complete nerd, which is sort of what makes John Heater's performance as that character like so he's just likable, right? So yeah, Jim Woodring had great stuff like Frank. Mike Allred's Madman is awesome, says Shelby AC. Yeah, like those kind of like I just feel like if you like comic books, don't always read superhero comics. There are other types of comics. And if this movie like convinces you to check those out, that's a good thing. Jeff, I can't stand Crumb's art. I don't want to have to look at it in order to read it. That's okay, Jeff. That's okay. Look, personal taste.
Yeah.
Scott Slaughterbeck says reviews called this sweet, funny, and a dark comedy. Trailer looks really good. Want biscuits. Read The Far Side a little, Alan.
I read The Far Side, believe me.
And then JC says, when I ran D&D campaigns, I often stressed to players that the story and campaign was of the ultimate importance and their characters could totally die at any point. Then they could roll another one. Amanda Nowicki says, Alaska had 2 comic shops for the whole state, one in Anchorage and one in Fairbanks. There you go. Gru. Yeah, Gru. That's another.
I read Gru. I definitely read Gru.
Patrick Amir says, Owen Kline was amazing as a child in The Squid and the Whale. Well, there you go. And French comics, says Patrick Lemire. Yeah. Character study, new drink, says Fletcher Williams, who's a member. Thank you for that. Well, we need to switch gears here. We need to switch gears because we have a very special guest that's joining us on the show. So I got to change things up here. Give me a second, folks. It's a big show today. This is a big show. I think it's exciting, and it's my pleasure to be able to bring you filmmakers who are very passionate about their projects. And this movie, The Invitation, is not what you think it is. I highly encourage you to check out the trailer, to go see. The film opens today in theaters, and it is not the vampire movie that you expect, is all I'm going to say. And the director, Jessica M. Thompson, is here joining us on the Film Threat Livecast. Jessica, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us on the day of your film opening. How exciting is that?
I know, no place I'd rather be than here with Film Threat. How you guys doing?
Great. That's great. First of all, congratulations on the film. I know how hard it is to, one, get a movie made, 2, actually get it released so it can be seen. So congratulations on that. And you are a big horror and sci-fi buff is what I'm told.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I grew up on horror and sci-fi from, you know, The Omen to The Shining to The Birds. Like, you know, that was my jam. So it's such a joy to be able to, you know, finally make my mark in that genre. Yeah.
And real quick, I want to ask, as I watched the credits last night at the film, Blair Butler wrote the script. Is it Blair Butler from Kansas? And
Yes, I do believe she is from Kansas.
From G4's Attack of the Show?
She's from G4's Attack of the Show. Is that
there you go.
Is that so? Because I used to work with her.
Oh, she's an absolute legend. She's such a delight. I loved working with Blair, and she's such a, you know, an imaginative force, tour de force.
Okay, great. All right, because I was like, wait a sec. I think I might know that Blair Butler, but I worked with Blair Butler at G4 TV. She's a huge comic book nerd.
Yes.
She reviewed comics on Attack of the Show, and she was a producer and writer behind the scenes, and sometimes a reluctant performer, but she did so great. And I'm so happy to see her succeed with this film. You premiered at South by Southwest, is that right?
No, that was my first feature.
The first feature.
Yeah, this one we premiered here in New York.
Wow.
And yep.
Well, what drew you to the material? We've seen a lot of vampire stories. This one is very different. And, you know, if you don't see the trailer, you just walk in cold. You're like, what is this movie about? I don't want to ruin anything. There is an incredible reveal scene where you think something's weird is going on. There's all sorts of clues that weird things are going on. When it's finally revealed what is going on, it's glorious. What drew you to the script, the material, and you know, looking on this as kind of an opportunity to kind of say something new about that genre?
Yeah, I mean, well, exactly what you said. You know, I felt it was a fresh take, and I'm someone who's, you know, loves all the vampire films, loves Kronos, you know, the kind of the OG vampire films, and Francis Ford Coppola's Dracula. And so when I saw Blair's script come to me, and I saw it was kind of, you know, a retelling, a reimagining of that from maybe a feminist angle, and included the brides of Dracula, I was all in. I thought it was really unique, like you said, a fresh take on that kind of old genre. And I also love a bit of a mashup. So I love kind of a romance horror mash. I'm a very big fan of Guillermo del Toro and how he kind of makes you fall in love with his monsters. So that's kind of what it was, is that I felt it was fresh and had something new to say.
And what went into like the production design? Because it sort of starts out, you know, once you get to this, I mean, is it a castle or a mansion?
I mean, it's a bit of everything.
Right.
It was actually an 18th century castle in Hungary that we filmed in. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And it's actually the great grandson of Madame Bathory, who, if you don't know, is like the blood queen who like swam in the blood of virgins and, you know, killed over 600 women, something crazy like that. That's her great grandson's castle that we filmed in.
Because that really sort of sets the tone. I really do, you know, like I think location can become a character, and the location in a way is like a character in this film.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what I intended. I mean, just like the Overlook, right? You know, I wanted the castle to be a part of the world, to kind of make it feel like there's something creeping underneath the walls. You know, and that's why we created this kind of upstairs, downstairs world. As soon as we go downstairs to the maids, and, you know, things are happening in those quarters that are different to the upstairs. You know, I wanted to utilize all of those, kind of the geography of the mansion and the architecture of it, to play into the horror.
Well, you've got a lot of comments. This is live on YouTube, so we have a lot of people commenting, a lot of questions. So do you mind if we go to those?
Go for it.
Let's do it. So Solomon Thorne says, greetings, Lady Jessica. And Liam in Wales says, redhead vampires need to be a thing. That's cool. And John Hanling says, no way, Blair's awesome.
She is awesome. Blair is awesome.
And then Goober says, I'm guessing you're not in Australia.
No, but I do sound Australian. I live in Los Angeles, and before that I was 10 years in New York. So I've been in the States for a while, but I am from Sydney, true and true.
Cool. And Glenuccio asks, which horror movies inspired you the most?
Yeah, I already mentioned it. The Shining, for sure, is like probably one of my favorite films of all time, really. I can rewatch that film till the cows come home. But Kronos by Guillermo del Toro, I really love that it's like a horror film with heart. But I'm also a big fan of the South Korean horror films like Train to Busan, Old Boy, films like that as well. I really love their kind of mixture of action and also, but also once again, heartfelt horror. That's what it's all about to me.
And then Dempsey says, I can't figure out whether to freak out about Jessica or Natalie or more. So
all of us, and Thomas Doherty, he's stunning.
And then CD Stein 69 says, ask Jess, if you had the chance to film a classic horror movie, what would it be and why?
Oh, like to reinvent one of the originals?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to say Rosemary's Baby.
That would be.
I mean, but I'm also very scared. Like, for instance, Rebecca is one of my favorite original horror films, and I, wasn't a massive fan of the retelling of it. So part of me is like, I would be scared to, touch a film that's already so perfect.
Cool. And then Fletcher Williams asks, what kind of equipment did you use to get the color palette? I mean, color is like a big part of this movie, and it's
absolutely
part of the tone. So we do have aspiring filmmakers watching. What can you maybe give us a little bit of the technical insight into how you designed it?
Yeah, so I worked with Autumn Aiken, my cinematographer, who also did my first feature, The Light of the Moon, and Felicity Abbott, our production designer. We worked really close together to create a distinct look for the kind of the more fairy tale romance version of the film versus the nightmare version, and changed up the lenses and everything. So we shot on the Arri Alexa LF, which is a favorite camera of mine, and we used their DNA lenses. And we, depending on when we were, changed up the framing and things like that, depending on whether we were trying to hint at the horror or, go with it. But one of my favorite things to do is to use, wide angle lenses for close-ups and to, just create that little bit of distortion. And that kind of makes us feel really deeply connected to the characters, but also, warps our perspective a little bit. So yeah, playing with all those little tips and tricks.
And
we had a few questions about the trailer. And I think
don't watch it. Go in blind.
I know that's the question I had was, do you feel like it maybe revealed a little bit too much, and were you happy with it?
Yes, I do believe it revealed too much. But supposedly that's what a lot of people want these days, especially with horror, to know what they're getting in for. Personally, I am someone who thinks you should not watch the trailer. The way I watch a film is I look at the director and I look at the lead actor, and that's it. That'll make me decide whether I'm going to go see it or not.
Thankfully, I did not see the trailer for this movie before, but they just ruin too much these days. I like to walk in when Nicole Kidman sits down. That's when I sit down at your AMC.
That's it. No, that's it. I agree with you fully. I'm someone who, less is more. So I would encourage fans to just go and enjoy it and not know any spoilers.
Cool. And then Flaccid Phoenix has a question. What was your favorite shot to shoot? A lot of directors have like a favorite, like this shot. You obsess over a specific shot.
Yeah, the piece de resistance shot. In the big reveal, in the R-rated version, which is coming out later, there is a big, almost 270-degree turn of the camera for the big reveal in that beautiful dining hall scene. So it is not in the cinematic version, but it is in the R-rated version, which is coming to home entertainment later. So that one took a lot, because we had to time it perfectly, had to time the lighting change perfectly, had to time the camera move perfectly. And so it's always so fun when you see all the departments come together, cast, crew, everyone, and they, it takes a few goes to get it exactly right. And it's a big, as you said, it's quite the reveal. So, seeing everyone's kind of reactions in that 200, degree view is a lot of fun.
I mean, it definitely pushed the limits for PG-13. I'm kind of surprised. I'm glad to hear that there's an R-rated version on the way. Patrick Lear says, the production started in September 2021. It must have been challenging to shoot a vampire movie in the social distance era. Lots and lots of testing. What were the challenges of shooting now with all these new rules?
Yeah, yes, it was tough. We did get shut down twice, but just for 2 days each time. So luckily it wasn't, enough to, throw us off the rails or anything like that. But yeah, it's a lot of testing. It's a lot of mask wearing, which I find, a lot of communication happens with with your face and with your expression. So I find it very difficult to direct. I have to use my eyes a lot, and so it's definitely difficult. It's not the way that films should be made, because you lose that kind of emotional connection. Thankfully, obviously, because the actors don't have masks on, you can still read their expressions. But yes, not my favorite way to make a film.
And Matthew Hammond, thank you for $4.99 and supporting the channel. It's nice that you actually shot this on location without green screens. What were the challenges with lodging and traveling to the castle each day? I mean, it's got to be fun to make a movie in Bulgaria, like
Hungary. Yeah.
Hungary. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Hungary.
Yeah. So the castle was about an hour in a town called Csekéshfehérvár. I got really good at pronouncing it. An hour outside of Budapest, and the cast and crew, we all stayed at a local. It was quite a beautiful old hotel. It felt a little creepy, and I will say that coming home at 4 a.m. sometimes with those long halls, it's like an 1800s hotel. I was like, someone's going to come out of the door after we've been shooting horror films all day. But it was really lovely because we all got to be in this little village together, and it wasn't very many people, because we were outside of Budapest. We shot some of it on stages at Budapest where we created all the sets. But the actual castle, when we shot the exteriors, were all in this little village that was beautiful.
Cool. And then John Manolang says, any inspiration from Interview with a Vampire? Till this day, it's still one of the most unique approaches to the genre.
John, I fully agree. I think it is an underappreciated film. I still think it's one of the best. And I love it. And I love this. And also The Hunger, Tony Scott's The Hunger. That kind of, this regal vampire who's kind of affluent and elitist. That was definitely something that I was wanting to capture for sure.
Well, I love that concept of, like, if you're a vampire, you've been around for a long time, you get good with money.
Exactly. And you've collected all this art, especially like you've collected art that now is like, worth so much money, which is definitely something we play on with this. A lot of the artifacts are real artifacts or recreations of them, like the abduction of the Sabine woman, which is one of the featured paintings. Those are all real artworks that we got to recreate.
Also, the real estate investment that was going on there too.
Because I like that the film. I mean, yes, vampires. It's a part of this is the story, but it's also about class disparity.
Yeah,
the film really delves into that. I don't know how much of that was from the script or you brought to it.
I mean, absolutely, it was always in Blair's script, but it was. I mean, it's both, but it's definitely a rich eating the poor story, and that's 100% what our intention was. To me, the classism is the number one theme in the story. And exactly when Evie comes in and dispels all that, because she's someone who's from the working class and she gets along with all the maids. She treats them like real people. She doesn't, because that's how her day job is, So that's a lot of humanity, gives a lot of humanity to her character.
And Akanika asks, were you involved in the casting? If so, talk about the process. And I assume you're involved in the casting. You're the director. Yes, so.
I'd like to hope so.
Yeah.
Natalie was always number one on my list. I like a lot of people, she caught my eye in Game of Thrones. That's when I first kind of started to realize who she is. And I love that she took a relatively small character from the books and really owned it. And, that character got bigger and bigger each season because audiences loved her so much. And that's just shows you the kind of actor and talent that she is. So she was always on the top of my list, and I'm so glad that she identified with the character. Thomas Doherty was a new face to me. I didn't know who he was. He auditioned for the role and absolutely won it hands down.
Oh, my daughter knows who he is. So.
Yeah,
that's right. And I was like, all of my nieces and nephews are like, Thomas Doherty. Yeah, we know who that is. I'm like, oh, okay. But to me, he was a new face, and I'm glad that he's now, hopefully this brings him into a whole different audience, out of the YA kind of audience, because I think he's one of those incredible finds, incredible talents.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about after the screening. It's like, oh, that guy, he was definitely a standout for sure.
Yeah.
And Patrick Lemire says vampires live on blood and compound interest. And
Jeff asked, only we could all be vampires.
Do any authors inspire you, such as Stephen King? Any horror authors?
Oh, I mean, Stephen King, 100%. I often, how there's that thing that he does where he like sells these short films for like $1. I've always wanted short stories for $1. I've always like every now and then I'll go on his archives and like read one and be like, I want to make a Stephen King film so bad. The Outsider as well, I thought was an incredible TV rendition of one of his, and Castle Rock, and so many great things. I mean, this man is just a genius.
Question here from Solomon Thornton. My favorite vampire film is Bram Stoker's Dracula. what is your favorite vampire film? That's a tough question, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, it's tough. But like I said, Kronos, which doesn't actually say the word vampire, but I mean, just like our film, we never actually say the word. But that is definitely, I'd say, my number one vampire film. Just because, like I said, it's really about a grandfather and a granddaughter trying to connect, and she's trying to keep her granddad, alive. And I think there's just something really human and beautiful about that. Yeah.
Now, you may or may not want to answer this question. I think it's fair if you don't, but Dempsey asks, can you tell us anything about your vampires? I know that the actual properties of vampires and vampirism varies wildly from story to story. I don't know.
I'll tell you one little fact that I wanted to stay true to Bram Stoker with. Obviously, I read Bram Stoker's Dracula when I was like 12 or 13. I think like most people in high school, it's one of the mandatory reading things. So I reread it obviously before delving into the film. And I realized that his vampires all walk around during the day. And Coppola sticks to that as well. And it's just that they lose their powers during the day. So I decided to stick to that because I thought it would hold off the suspense. We wouldn't be able to guess whether they were vampires or what kind of creatures they were, because we see them in broad daylight. And so that was something that was important to me. One, to throw off the audience, but two, to stay true to the source material. Yeah.
I'll just say this isn't Twilight. This is not Twilight.
I'm just curious, but when you attached yourself to Blair's script, what is that relationship like afterwards in terms of, do you negotiate certain story elements, or do you talk about how you have to change your script to fit, your budget and your production, things like that?
Yeah, so I did rewrite some of the script with full Blair's permission and acknowledgement. Directors always get to do a director's pass. This was a little bit more intensive than that. But I'm someone who always includes my writers in that. I would never want to do, I want to service the script. And to me, that was making the characters stronger, making the relationships more believable, making them more authentic. But in terms of plot, that was all Blair. That was the whole story. It's the way that she constructed it, the concept, all of that is Blair. And I just, put a few tweaks in there to just put my little stamp on it. But to me, there is writers can sometimes come on board to rewrite, and directors, and not even contact the first writer, which I think is poor form and disgraceful, and should not be allowed. So I'm someone who I reached out before anyone gave me her contact. I reached out to her to let her know, I would love to do this with you, and we've become great friends over the process, which is lovely.
Well, tell her I said hi.
I will.
I used to, I was with a group of people where we would get together every Sunday to watch football. Blair is a big NFL fan.
No way.
I'm serious.
That is the last thing I would have expected you to say.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say we all got together and picked a Hammer horror film to watch or something.
Well, I mean, we would have football on, but we would then talk about nerd stuff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that went. Solomon Thornton says, ever seen any Japanese horror? If so, what is your favorite? You mentioned earlier South Korean horror films.
Yeah. Gosh, no, I'm trying to think of what is it? No.
You said Train to Busan.
Train to Busan. A Tale of Two Sisters is Korean as well, right? Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to think. Now, I know I love Japanese horror, but now I can't think of. It's not. The Handmaiden is not technically horror, but I think there's some horror elements in there with the octopus. Well, not to give it away, but if you haven't seen The Handmaiden, everyone needs to go see The Handmaiden.
And I know we got to wrap up real quick, but we still have more questions rolling in. Fletcher Williams, editing software, what did you use? And do you like practical effects or digital effects? How do you work with those?
Yeah, so I started off as an editor. So I always use Avid, just a big Avid nerd. But mind you, I used to also do commercial editing, and I did use Premiere. But always a feature film, I will always use Avid. I didn't edit this one, but I wanted to make sure we were using Avid. And I'm a massive fan of practical effects, massive. I always try to, whenever physically possible, whenever safe to do so, use practical effects. And you'll see that in this film for sure. There's lots of prosthetic work, especially in the R version, where you really get to enjoy some of that prosthetic work. But of course, you always have to accentuate it digitally, because you can't light a whole thing on fire. Well, not on $15 million. Maybe when I get Christopher Nolan's budgets, I'll be able to light a whole building on fire. But yeah, you usually shoot the fire elements and then accentuate them.
Said No One Ever says, Thirst is the weirdest vampire movie I've ever seen. Did Thirst from Park Chan-wook inspire the way you, in any way, making the movie?
Yes, I love Park Chan-wook, and I think first, I do think it's weird, but I think it's wildly wonderful and kind of unexpected. And yeah, absolutely. I literally, so before making the film, I watched every single vampire film, rewatched them all to make sure that I wasn't copying or doing anything. I wanted to make sure that I was, my approach was fresh. So.
And then two more questions. CD Stein 69 says, outside of horror, what other kind of movie would you want to make?
A sci-fi. So that's next in the books. A grounded psychological sci-fi.
Oh,
something akin to Arrival or Ex Machina. Yeah.
You should. There's a movie coming out this fall called Vesper. Have you seen the trailer for it?
No, not yet.
Okay. After this, please watch the trailer for Vesper. It's coming out from IFC Films. I can't wait for that. It looks like the most original, weird dystopian horror film I've seen in years. So check out Vesper. And then Lubitsch touched me, asks, do you have your next project in mind already?
Your name. That name. I do have a film with a working title, incredible production company, that is a psychosexual drama. So a little bit different that I wrote and we'll be directing with them. So that's coming up. Yeah.
Great. Well, Jessica Thompson, thank you so much for joining us on the Film Threat Livecast. Congratulations on the film. The invitation is out now in theaters and will be coming soon in an R-rated version. We can't wait for that. Jessica, thanks for joining us on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. I love this. Thanks, guys.
All right. Take care. Later.
See ya.
Bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That was great. She's awesome.
Yeah, I agree about the trailers, though. They just
the trailer for this kind of ruined it. Like, I mean, I thankfully, I talked to friends who saw it who told me what was in the trailer, even though I hadn't seen the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. But we're gonna switch it up here because we have a special guest coming. Another special guest. This is how we roll. This is how we roll here. With the special guest, but we have the Funny Pages director Owen Kline is going to be coming on very shortly. Until then, let's go to some comments here. Tons of love for Jessica in the chat. What do we have? Jessica Simps? Is that
there were a lot of comments for Blair as well.
Yeah, well, look, it's weird. Like the pandemic kind of like I need to reach out to her because I didn't realize that she made this, but we literally had, this is like, we kind of like 4 years ago, kind of all just like broke off because we would go to this couple's house and they since have broken up. And they would host our Sunday football parties, kind of centrally located. We would all go to their place to watch football on Sunday mornings. Everybody would kind of bring something. You bring your favorite beer, you bring a food item. We all kind of hang out. Maybe we order pizza or chicken or whatever. And it was like an all day watching football on Sunday. And then the couple broke up and then
ruined everything.
We stopped doing Sunday football, but Sunday football with Blair, and it was a bunch of other people from G4. And I have to reach out to Blair and congratulate her because that's great. Piers Bronson has become a YouTube member. Thank you for that. That is great. Now check out that member tab for exclusive videos. The Adventures of Alan. The Adventures of Alan.
Yeah.
Alan's Adventures.
I have 2 more coming. So.
And Alan's also going to be going to D23 September 9th, right?
9th, 10th, and 11th.
9th, 10th, and 11th. Alan will be at D23 if you happen to be in Anaheim, California. In addition, Alan on that Friday show is just going to be with his phone, walking the floor of D23, giving us a tour, and he's going to do special members only content as well. So Piers Bronson, you got some treats coming your way. And Hank VP says Jessica looks like April O'Neil from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. Well, I know like she's a huge horror fan. I couldn't believe like, hey, would you like to have Jessica on the show? It's like, oh my God, I'm seeing the movie like tonight. Yeah, let's have her jump on. Great. Another special guest must be Friday, says Not the Batman. Yeah. And then why don't directors have creative control over marketing? That's a very good question, Lua DCM 20.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is a tough one to sell if you don't reveal the reveals. You know, It becomes just a story about class and, and is that enough to bring people in without tipping off that is not only horror but a vampire horror as well?
Well, the philosophy is that the audience wants to know what they're getting before they buy it, right? So you want to know, like, well, you don't want to get a cheeseburger and not know what's on the cheeseburger. I'm saying this is the argument from marketing. I'm not saying I agree with this. Okay, please don't take this. I don't agree with this, but it's like the whole thing is like their argument is, well, if you order a cheeseburger, you want to know what's on the cheeseburger. Cheese, does it have onions, tomatoes, lettuce, pickles, mayonnaise? What? No, but
whatever. It's interesting when you said that you were you mentioned the big reveal when the rest of us who had seen the trailer knew what the big reveal was already.
John Manling said Alan is going to be at D23. I'm utterly shocked. Yeah, Alan.
Oh yeah. Well, let's see what kind of interviews they'll give me now.
Wait, is it better if I'm on this side or you're on the?
So, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right. I always forget.
My eye line out. Yeah.
I always forget. But yeah. So we have Owen Kline is going to be joining us from Funny Pages. I love this film. I can't wait to talk to you about it more and talk to Owen about it. This film is if you want a character study of someone who's obsessed with non-superhero comics, this is your film. A movie that is a character study, which is something I think indie film does better than big budget movies. This is why I believe that Marvel hires a lot of indie filmmakers, because what indie filmmakers do really well is with regard to creating really compelling characters. I don't think that Hollywood does that well because they tend to focus on things that aren't that. They focus on, spectacle. Things that have to be big. It has to be over the top and ridiculous. So I think that the reason that Marvel in particular as a studio has gone after smaller indie filmmakers, and people forget Jon Favreau started as an indie filmmaker. Almost all of the filmmakers that are your favorites started as indie filmmakers. Everyone from Christopher Nolan, watch his movie Following. Jon Favreau with Swingers. Go to some quick comments here before our special guest Owen Kline arrives. Akanika says, Chris, devil's advocate for marketing. I'm just trying to explain their thinking. Now, the other thing is I happen to know that Christopher Nolan in particular, and he's gained enough power that he can tell the marketing department, like he'll put together, and I love the marketing campaign for The Dark Knight, because what he did was he said, here, you can use this footage. He relegates them to here's the footage you can use, and it's only from the first half of the movie. And I remember when I saw The Dark Knight for the first time in a theater, I was sitting there going, like, we're halfway through the movie, and I'm like, I have seen every shot that was in the trailer. I don't know what's going to happen. And it was the first time I felt like kind of like unhinged, like, I don't know what's going to happen with this movie because, like, the whole thing with the boats and the bombs and, Harvey Dent and Two-Face, like none of that's like at least the initial trailers for The Dark Knight didn't reveal any of that. There's literally like no footage from the second half of the film. So
yeah, I think, last time I remember, Infinity War and Endgame were that way. All the footage came from that first 20 minutes, and it still felt like a big movie from even that.
Andre Villa Franca says, also please read the Bleach manga. It's amazing. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. I don't think we're going to get to Bleach today. I actually didn't get a chance to see it. I know that it's open in limited release. So there you go. Matthew Hammond, thank you again for $4.99. Advertising in 70s and 80s had great scripts written for the voiceover person that could convince people to watch a movie without ruining the story. Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah.
In a world. Isn't
that Don LaFontaine? I think that was
Yeah. No, like I prefer those older trailers that all movies seem to have a sense of mystery. And Amanda Nowicki says the invitation trailer showed too much. I didn't watch it. I think I went to look at it and I was like, no. Showed too much. Lord of the Rings of Power trailer showed nothing. Marketing is a mixed bag. But it's such an important part of this. I almost feel like when it comes to Star Wars, like the marketing is more fun. The marketing and like the experience, everything surrounding the movies was so much fun, except for the actual movies. Even with the Star Wars sequels, it's like, oh, we're going to go. Because I'm Mr. Hopeful. I'm like, it's going to be great. JJ's going to stick the landing. Episode 9 is going to wrap up not just the sequel trilogy, but all 3 of the trilogies. It's going to be great. I could not have been more wrong. And oh my gosh, Jessica's here. Jessica Thompson, thanks for having me on the show, guys. That was fun. You're always welcome back. Thank you so much, Jessica. Congrats on the film. Hope it does really well this weekend. So great. Thank you. And Dempsey says, if people are hungry, they'll buy food. Just let them know it is available. Yes, exactly. I'm just trying to explain how marketing, like the marketing department has different agenda, and some directors are able to exercise control over the marketing. And Chris Nolan, I think he recognized that he reached a certain level and was like, yeah, you're not going to ruin my movie. So Patrick Lemire says, because marketing are very protective of their jobs and they are usually not artists, but think they are creative. Yeah, I would say that there is a creativity, though, to marketing. They're very good trailers, but trailers today tend to ruin too much. They're basically a synopsis of the movie. They end up being like a wrap-up, right? But like there are posters. There's literally the Key Art Awards. Look this up. The Key Art Awards are like awards for movie posters. And if you go to the Film Threat Instagram, please, like, go to the Film Threat. Here, look. No, wait, different thing. No, that's not it. Just go to the Film Threat Instagram, and we started this hashtag Film Threat posters. So I take posters for movies that you would not expect to see, like weird posters for small indie movies, and they put a lot into these posters. So we started this hashtag Film Threat posters. Now other people are using it just so that they kind of come up on the feed. But the feed of the Instagram is sort of like Film Threats Adventures, weird videos of Alan. Some weird videos of me, sometimes like sort of like Film Threat related stuff is on our Instagram, and then just weird movie posters.
Yeah, I mean, what you won't see are the cast head posters that the big studios can't get away from.
Occasionally, I'll post those if it's something really good.
Yeah.
Or it's funny. And I try to do them in sets of 3. So like I run the Instagram. So it's like it's in sets of 3. So if I see like 3 posters that look exactly the same, I'll run all 3. Or I have like 2 sort of like, and then so if you look at like, if you actually go to the page and just look at it in the grid feed, you'll see that there are like sets of 3 of things. So yeah. And Dempsey says, I really enjoyed that interview. Thank you. And then Spidey Sensei, can we please get Blair on the show? It'd be fun to see you 2 catch up. Blair is very shy and more than likely will not do it. And I mean, I just know her, and I know she does not like being on camera. And yet she worked on a TV show where she was on camera and she really did not like it. I won't speak for her, but I'll just say, I mean, I can ask. I think that when Attack of the Doc comes out, I think a lot of people will be coming out giving their takes and their opinions, and that's totally fine. But yeah, it says trailers are a dark art. The prequel trilogy trailers are awesome. The cutting, the John Williams, the score, Patrick Lemire. Yeah, I agree. Like the prequel trilogy trailers got me so pumped for Star Wars. The trailers ended up being, better than the movie. And then Lubitsch Touch Me says, most modern movie posters rely too much on images of actors' faces. I miss all the artwork that posters had up until the 90s. I would agree. Yeah. So keep going. I'm stalling here.
Yeah, we're waiting.
We're waiting for Owen to join. I'm sure he'll be here. Most of the modern movie posters are pretty dull, says Anonymous. I will say this. Modern posters for mainstream Hollywood movies I would agree with that. Here's why. Lawyers. It is literally written in the contract of many talent because it's something you can give an actor that doesn't cost money. If anything, studios will try to do as much as possible to pay you as little as possible. Talking about talent, right? So so what they'll do is they'll throw in the contract, what if we make a poster with just your character? Like the legal aid for She-Hulk, for the She-Hulk series, has a poster of her own. And I'm certain that the agent who negotiated that deal said, well, look, if you're going to play my client that, the least you can do is give her a vanity poster of her own for the series, which, you know, the talent thinks, well, that'll boost my career. And a lot of like, when you see like a poster that looks like a hodgepodge and everything but the kitchen sink, not only is it negotiated that their name goes at the top of the poster, the size of the font, the size of the percentage of the head size on the poster. This is why, because I know some people who design posters, and I don't want to speak for them, but I know that here are all the legal requirements of the poster. So the poster not only has to, you know, be creative and promote whatever it is, it also has to fit the legal requirements of everything that was negotiated in the contract. So that's why when you see most mainstream movie posters are a freaking hodgepodge of names of different sizes, names on the top, names on the bottom, people, you know, all in the poster, and it just looks like a mess. Yeah. It looks like someone dropped an ambrosia salad on the floor. That's what movie posters look like.
And clearly it's all done for vanity, because I can't imagine that they're getting any extra juice from being on a poster other than being on the poster.
Well, let me just say, while we're stalling, well, how about giving that like button a slappity slap? We have like 150 people watching. Slap the like button. And by the way, if you are not subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel. Click that bell for notifications. But the first thing you must do is slap.
Slap! Within a grip. You're so... Get busy, come on.
There you go. Three Stooges. How have the Three Stooges not been canceled?
Oh, they've been canceled.
Have they been canceled? The other thing I noticed too, if you watch the first Star Wars movie, I'm talking about Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, one thing that kind of stands out to me, which is really funny, is how abusive C-3PO is to R2-D2.
He strikes him at one point.
C-3PO calls R2-D2 names. C-3PO pounds and actually physically hits. We're not talking about microaggressions. We're talking about droid-on-droid assault. Happened in the original Star Wars. When is there gonna be an article about this kind of stuff? Because people are so dumb these days. Let's go to comments while we're stalling.
We'll never have Anthony Daniels on the show ever.
We're not gonna have it, but if you watch it, if you go back and watch the original Star Wars, you're gonna see that, like, you know, I was like, it only stood out to me because of all this, you know, the woke nonsense complaining about things, and then I'm like, oh wow, how come they don't complain about the way that we need to talk about how C-3PO treats R2-D2? Like, I swear that's going to be an article on Vox or some terrible website. All those websites are just clickbait garbage. So let's go to some comments here. Lubitsch Touch Me makes me think of the Whales of August poster where Betty Davis required her name to be on the left, so that put Lillian Gish's name just a tad higher. Yeah, that's true. And they're saying Blair Butler, Scott Slaughterbeck, or maybe blackmail. She could do it without the camera, says Patrick Lemire. Holy Hand Grenade says, get Olivia Munn on the show too. Haha.
Yeah, Chris.
No.
Get her on the show.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to do that. So, yeah. And then Dempsey said, just keep bringing Jessica back. You know, we try to schedule them. We schedule them in like little half-hour windows. I don't know, like as much as like, you know, there's a little bit of planning that goes into the show. What movies are we talking about? Are there any topics we're going to talk about? I'd like to talk about this weird thing with Batgirl that's going on. Have you heard about the Batgirl funeral?
Yeah, I heard Eric talk about it last night.
Oh, wait. I just got an email. It says, sorry to quickly follow up. Owen's computer is too old to join the StreamYard link. Is there any sort of workaround? A dial-in, perhaps? To say, well, we'll see. I'm sending him a note. You can use an iPhone. Glad I checked my email. But let's get some comments here. Trailers are dark art. The prequel. Okay, we already talked about that one. Alan.
Sorry, I missed the one.
Most modern movie. Okay, we also did that one. Not the Batman says Christopher Nolan is now like, marketing isn't going to ruin my movie. The audio mixes are. Yeah, exactly. He does it himself. Amanda Nowicki says 40s, 50s movie posters are the best. Go to the Film Threat like Instagram though. Go to the Film Threat Instagram. I mean, it's just like this, like when I'll say, and here's the trend that I'll notice. Thank you, Amanda, for your comment here. I'm going to put that banner thing, but let's, so check this out. So what I'll do is I find like trailers that have something in common, right? So if you see the 3 at the top, it's like, they're all like these weird half faces. They all just happen to be black actors. But I just was like, why is this recurring thing? And if you actually scroll down, you'll see that I kind of group them in 3s of things that there might be some sort of commonality, or I'll put like something in the middle, like right here, if you see like The Prey and Wifelike, and they're both kind of pointing guns at each other. And I'll just sort of I'll put like, so yeah. And look, there's the funny page. What?
Yeah. No, keep scrolling.
Should I keep scrolling? Yeah, there's me fell down with Alan making a face. There's movies with white backgrounds. It's weird. It's just weird. So that's our Instagram feed. And why are you not subscribed? Why are you not subscribed to the Instagram feed? Nuts. Anyways, let's see comments here. Let me get back to the comments.
Maybe he has an old iPhone. That could be a problem.
That could be a problem too. Cardinal Sin. Hey, Gil. Good to see you. $9.99 super sticker. Appreciate that. Glenuccio. Microchip aggressions. That's great. I love it. CD Stein 69. We used to get the preview posters before the movies released, even as shortly as back as the Logan poster. The newer age of mainstream movie marketing seems to be playing to the lowest common moviegoer. Yeah, I actually think that they're just hiring less talented people.
Yeah, it's not creative at all.
It's not creative. So droids have feelings. Other droids know this. Yeah, C-3PO is abusive and very off-putting. Well, he's kind of a gay butler. Let's be honest. It's kind of, there you go. My favorite is original Frankenstein poster, Karloff billed as ? Oh, that's great because he's the monster. C-3PO had droid privilege. Well, definitely gold droid privilege. So we're going to see if Owen joins. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to get to it. But let's see. Radioactive, and thank you for continuing to just hang out with us here on a Friday. The R2 movement. Oh no, that's good. I had to think about that for a second. The R2 movement. We need to make a meme or like a video. Glenuccio, the R2 movement.
We're never gonna get
Just a series of C-3PO being mean to R2-D2. Like, it really stood out to me because people are so hypersensitive these days that they're just super mean. So C-3PO thinks he can get away with anything because of his golden rod. Well, so to speak. But we have our very special guest is joining us. This movie that I was so tickled by, Funny Pages, an incredible character study of a boy named Robert who just wants to do funny comics. And he wants to draw funny comics with penises and heinous sex acts because that's what one would do. Welcome to the show, the director of Funny Pages, Owen Kline. Owen, hey, thank you for sticking with us, not giving up and joining us. Sure.
I had so many difficulties with my computer. I have like a 10-year-old computer, and then they said you can use a telephone to do video now. So I figured out there's a camera inside of my phone.
It works. First of all, great to have you here. I'm Chris Gore. This is Alan Ng. We're
Hi.
Film
I know you. I know who you are, Chris Gore.
Okay.
I have very many magazines and things in this office, and many of them are magazines of yours.
Well, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that you have that. It's weird, but yeah, but thank you for that.
I know. Right?
What's weird about that?
I know that really.
No, but okay, can I just say this movie, you have to be a complete nerd to have made this.
Me?
You know too much. You know too much about comics. You're in love with non-superhero comics. Can you tell us like what led you down this path?
I guess just like sort of one thing leads to another. You find Crumb eventually at the comic book store, and then I don't know, just growing up in New York, all these stores in the 2000s still had all the back issues of Love and Rockets and Hate and 8 Ball and Peep Show and Seth's Palookaville and I don't know what, Dirty Plot by Julie Douchet or Spain Rodriguez stuff, or like later Zaps and Weirdos and stuff. People weren't marking that stuff up quite yet, like 80s and 90s stuff, I don't know. So that was just what I was naturally drawn to in the comic book store at St. Mark's Comics or any of those places that are a little bit more. I was attracted to the stores that were a little bit more dusty and didn't have, it had more of a variety than just the sort of straight up superhero store. So Jim Hanley's, where we shot in the last Jim Hanley's for this movie, that's where we were. You were never in New York. You were in Los Angeles.
Yeah. But I've been to New York. I'm very familiar with St. Mark's Place. But all those comics, all those references, I used to read all of those. Dirty Plot, all of that. Do you know Yummy Fur with Chester Brown?
Oh yeah.
Like, and I mean, obviously Robert Crumb and all those things. Like, I could see you have a collection behind you. You're practically living in a comic shop, which is awesome.
Here's the Chester.
Oh my God! Let's get the tour.
I have it all here.
Department.
Tour? Yeah, I guess I can do the tour.
Okay, cool.
What?
This is
Okay,
great.
fuck it. I don't usually let anybody.
Yeah, let's do a tour if you don't mind.
Okay, this is all right. Sure. So this is oh God, how do you use a camera when it's in the mode where can you reverse the? I'll just do this. I'll do it like this.
Sure.
Can you see that?
Yeah, perfectly. Looks great.
This is an illustration by a guy named Ving Fuller, whose brother Sam was director.
Oh wow, Sam Fuller! Wow, that's insane.
So they were both journalists. I mean, Sam Fuller was a journalist and cartoonist.
Oh my God.
And eventually just a journalist, but his brother was just a cartoonist. And but nobody cares about. I have all this Ving Fuller art that I found in like a New York, just like a flea market auction. It's a lot. He just made so much, and so much was rejected. But I just like that it says that the human brain starts working the moment you get up and never stops until you get to the office. Which is very true.
That's
and in fact, it says at the top of it, "How true." In blue pencil, which you never inked.
Yes, a soulless corporate job. That's when the brain stops working, is when you're just sort of in your cubicle. But you really were inspired by like just a genre of comics that is not, it's just not as popular as superhero comics, which is fine. But I love those comics. I love like just these funny stories. Where did you like, your lead actor is just like perfect. Like I forget his name, but he was so great. You just captured like that is a whole other like subgenre of comics unto itself. And there's even a reference in it to Gary Groth. And I was so blown away that there's a Gary Groth reference in your movie.
I wanted to do one thing that was just like completely, yeah, well, it just felt like that's the person who I just felt that his name written out in Peter Bagg's handwriting and just seeing that for a flash said so much to so few, but those not so few, honestly, a lot of people. You know what I mean? A lot of people of a certain generation. You know, I mean, I'm literally just sifting through now because I have ADD, but not diagnosed. Stacks and stacks of comics journals and weirdos and Go Naked, and I'm looking for my film threads because I know I have.
Oh, you're kidding.
Okay, we're getting close. Here's Cinema
Fantastique. There you go. Oh my God. Well, if they're in alphabetical order, you'll get to it. Matt Groening. Life in Hell.
Here you go.
The Comics Journal. That's it. But the fact that you included those kind of things in the film tells me you're legit. I mean, we're seeing all your stuff right here. But like, what led you to go, okay, I'm going to make a movie? Oh, Forced Exposure. I remember that. Those are like, oh my God.
Well, I broke it apart a lot. I used to work in record stores, so I would get everybody's good stuff over the years. But when they had to sell it for whatever reason or another, sadly.
Yeah, there you go.
This is Humbug. This is, Harvey Kurtzman's comic anthology.
This is completely legit.
Thank you. Here's Al Cap on cartooning. This is a really stiff, weird lesson by Al Cap on cartooning. I don't know, all this junk. I've hoarded all this junk for years and years, and I don't leave this office.
First of all, I have a collection as well. I used to have 6 long boxes. I have fewer now, unfortunately. But I sold most of my superhero comics because the thing is, those things are easier. Whoa! Oh no!
I think we lost him.
Oh no! Owen, come back! Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Oh my gosh!
Never happened on the show. Oh no! Let's go through some questions here. Hopefully Owen comes back.
I think he broke his phone. It's a.
And CD Stein 69, Chris, you just put that ridiculousness into the universe. You know the article's coming. That's the R2 movement. So, and then C3PO is golden. R2D2 is just white. That is golden privilege. So, great trailers. The Matrix 1999, The Shining, and Alien. Those trailers meant less is better. Yeah, true.
I'm looking at his device not connected warning there.
Oh, and then here we go. How long before She-3PO? Says Patrick Lemire. Yeah, true. Oh my God, I hope his phone is okay.
I know, that's what I'm afraid of. I think
got a lot of good questions.
I think he busted his phone.
Comic books killed him. Said no one ever. And Playboys, yeah. Sean Hu says, love this room. Okay, now we have questions and we can't get to the questions. No. Yeah. I have boxes assassinated. Oh no.
What would his mom and dad thought of his habit there?
Wait, Owen's back.
That was
that
was great.
Oh, that's crazy.
That was the greatest.
Thank you.
That was awesome. But yeah, you don't have to find the film threats. I believe you have them. But
you know which one was sticking out, but I'm not going to pull it out. Is a little John Crickfalusi issue.
Oh, right.
What a fucking classic that one is. And I have them paired with my two, the Cinema Fantastique issue as well. I mean, they're great. That's what a great period that was.
That was crazy. That was when it's like, oh, a cartoon show doesn't need to be some stupid commercial for toys. It could just be, a cat and a dog like fighting. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, that was for me in high school, that blog spot. When he started doing those cartooning lessons and everything, John, I was very disappointed about everything else.
Right.
But beyond that, he's a great cartoonist and had great lessons on that thing, But talk about, I don't know, let's not talk about it. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, no. I was in that documentary.
You were great in that.
Well, I was interviewed before everything came out. And
that sucks.
Funny story, I showed the trailer for the documentary about Ren and Stimpy at WonderCon, and they finished the movie. And John Crickfalusi was not in the movie at all. He wasn't interviewed, but they made a movie about Ren and Stimpy and all that. And then the following week, all those stories came out about John Crickfalusi, and they had to completely stop. And they finally contacted John. He kind of saw it as maybe a pathway to redemption. And he did like a 14-hour interview with them after he gained their trust. And I don't know. It is what it is, right? But I don't think you can take away like how much that changed the animation industry. That film, that show, Ren and Stimpy.
Well, I mean, the birth of it. I mean, that's what the documentary is about. That's what my friend Thad Komorowski's book, Sick Little Monkeys, is about.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which is, it's not an oral history, but it's a fantastic biography of the production of that show. And, you know, I don't need to tell you, you were there, but yeah, the birth of the thing was that. And it was like kind of politically the kind of this very creator driven, you know, that's what it births, and that's what the controversy at the end there, you know, which was very unfortunate, but
Right.
you know, it felt like, you know, everyone on every side kind of like flipping out.
Yeah, it was weird because what was weird was my friend Glenn Barr lived in kind of this back guest house that I had at the time off Melrose, and you know, Spumco was right down the street. So I was hanging out all the time with everyone, going to barbecues, hanging out, just like they would always, if ever I showed up there, everyone would just do a caricature of me, and it was incredibly mean. So I have a bunch of those sitting around, but it was fun to be on the inside and then also see it collapse, like just the splitting and then getting rid of John. And John was like this guy just holding up the dam of like executive control, and he I believe he turned in all of the shows late, specifically because there'd be no time for notes. So, you know, but you've now
he did do that, it seems.
Yeah,
by everyone's account, that's what happened, and that's what, you know, I think he was like Ralph Bakshi, his hero, which we just ran heavy traffic last night at the Walter Reed, you know, in relation to Funny Pages. They let me program some movies, and that was one of them. And seeing that and how liberated and insane that movie is, again, and that was a movie I watched over and over on video as a teenager, like just obsessively. By the way, we had this is totally aside. You'll have to get me back on track because I'm all.
Sure. Oh no!
But we had correspondence.
We have?
What happened?
You and I? When?
Yeah. Like I don't know, over like AOL emails, like years and years and years ago.
Whoa, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was like 14 or 15, just writing as a fan. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Whatever. It was a long time ago. I was asking you some question. I don't remember what it was.
I make it a point to respond to everything. I'm kind of obsessive. I'm a zero inbox guy. And so if I get and now I may be very terse in my response, but I try to respond to everything. That's crazy that I was messaging you when you were a kid.
Yeah, I mean, I was just an anonymous person, but yeah, whatever. So, where was I? I just remembered that and suddenly was
that's
struck by it.
But you're in the Squid and the Whale, which was one of my
favorite. Around that time, and you were like, "Oh, wait, you're in that."
Oh, I love that movie.
Talking about it or something. I don't know.
Oh, it's such a good film. It's such a and Noah Baumbach directed that, right? Like,
yeah.
And so, did you learn anything? Because now you're a director in your own right. You got to see how he approached the process, a very real, and your film kind of fits this in the sense of like, it feels like it could have been made. It's not set in the 70s, but it feels like it could have been made in the 70s, you know, like it feels almost timeless. And even the cinematography, it doesn't feel like it's present day per se. It has this kind of, cause I feel like cell phones are like way overused in movies these days. They're kind of annoying, and they're cell phones in this, but they're not used to an annoying degree. But it just feels like a timeless story, character study of this kid Robert who just wants to draw comics and also find a mentor, right? Like his mentor at the beginning of the film, there's a tragedy with him. He's sort of looking for someone else to mentor him through because his parents are not supportive. Where did this story come from? Who did the artwork? Tell us about the movie now, because I want everyone here to go see it. And there are going to be parts that are going to be difficult. There are going to be parts, I'm warning the audience, that are going to be difficult to watch. There's a shower scene in this, and not in the way that you would think. But
it's worse than Psycho. It's scary.
But tell us what like led you to this. Who did the artwork? How did you find your lead actor? Like, it's just, I feel like I've been in that world. I've lived that world or parts of the world. Andy Milanaka sitting there reading the comics in this shop, like, and him like not leaving. He's just sort of sitting there and kind of being annoying. Like, I've been that guy. So tell me what led to this. And the film played at Cannes, right? Like,
It did.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It was years and, I think doing, you said Squid and the Whale. Yeah, doing that movie. I didn't want to act in any way. I just wasn't interested in that. It just never was my natural inclination. I always just wanted to make stuff and make little movies on, camcorders like everybody does, and, draw little comics and stuff. And I wanted to do newspaper comics. But then doing Squid and the Whale kind of cemented movies for me in an interesting way. And, and I did it because Bob Yeoman was shooting it, who had shot like Drugstore Cowboy and had shot all these Wes Anderson movies up till then, like the Royal Tenenbaums had just come out and everything. So I was kind of amazed that this guy was kind of come and do this small movie. And the agreement was kind of like, I'll do this if I can sort of pay attention to what he's doing in some kind of way, and like have an ear to that. And he was really inclusive about his decisions and motivations for that movie, which was a pretty particular kind of tactile handheld style that they went for. It was like pretty European, obviously, and like just, it was like, I don't know, there hadn't been like a handheld 16 millimeter kind of movie that had a slightly intimate, weird quality because of that. And I think that was being a part of that and seeing how that was, just coming from doing shit on a camcorder handheld by, just sort of instinct, you know what I mean? Without any kind of just futzing around with the camera or whatever. It was like a natural translation to see it in a way that I hadn't seen it on, like, I'd been on film since as a kid because my parents were in the industry, but like it was a different experience. It was like a small, tiny movie, run and gun. We shot some of it on the train. It was stolen. And, I remember certain things. And the details of it were all the fabric of his.
Oh,
I know.
Internet. It's okay.
So, recording, can you still hear me?
Yeah, you're back. Yeah, it's cool.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, sorry, I pressed a button. But what was I talking about? It's weird. You guys, you don't have this. You can't do this, but
no,
it's weird to just be able to kind of. I mean, we're talking handheld,
right? You can make a movie with the. I mean,
we're already doing it.
We're
I'm
doing
way
it.
ahead of you. Sorry. All right, sorry.
You've got a lot of questions. Like the chat is blowing up with questions. Would you like to talk to the audience here? We've got.
Yeah, I'd love to. That sounds fun.
Okay, cool. So, Holy Hand Grenade says, "Welcome, Owen." Solomon Thornton says, "Hello, Sir Owen." Shelby
Hello,
AC
Sir
says,
Solomon.
Shelby AC says, "Dig that Jerry Lewis jacket, my man." There you go. That's awesome.
That's a pin. It's this. I won the spelling bee as a child.
You did?
No, that's I found that. I know Bob Furmanak, who was Jerry Lewis's archivist, gave me that as a gift.
Bethel Games asks, okay, Owen, does look like he would draw funny pages. Well, there you go. Dempsey says, what role does music play in your film?
The role of music.
All right. I love that answer.
No. I'll tell you, actually. I'd love to talk about that for a second.
Okay.
I'm glad someone else loves the button. And the role of music, I grew up going to like flea markets and trading junk, paper and records and 45s. And I collect a lot of most of these are like novelty records. Like I just always collected like cheap novelty records. They don't cost anything. A lot of this is also like country and pop and stuff, 60 stuff, but 50 stuff. But the stupid record like Babysittin' Boogie by like Buzz Clifford. Like I think that's even in a John Waters movie or something. But just like picking up junk like that was like kind of what as a 16-year-old I loved and listened to. And my taste has matured since then. But like that's a lot of the soundtrack is this kind of goofy novelty stuff and stuff. I worked at this label called Norton, who put out a lot of kind of primitive early rock and rhythm and blues and rockabilly and country oddities, but a lot of stuff like that. And then, which is also adds to sort of the sensibility, even kind of like goofball sense of humor of the character, I think. And then Sean O'Hagan from Stereolab and his group, the High Llamas, did the score proper, and we kind of went for kind of a more like Italian thing with that. And he's like he did all the great kind of lush arrangements on the Stereolab records, like warm brass and string arrangements and things like that. And he I don't know, he's like Brian Wilson or something with just, he can just you give a melody and he can chart it all out for everybody. And it's a completely lost skill. So he did a score with theremin and a bunch of other instruments like the ones I mentioned. That kind of lush, it's a weird contrast with the other stuff because the other stuff is sort of scratchy and harsh, but that's sort of the role of music, I guess.
How did like A24, how did the movie come to A24's attention? Because A24 is kind of known as like an indie label that if they put something out, it's really worth paying attention to. I feel like A24 is very good taste when it comes to the type of movies that they curate. And I mean, Marcel the Shell with Shoes On was A24. So many good films, X, A24, and now Funny Pages. How did that even come about? And please feel free to do the rest of the interview in this orientation. I think it'll, yeah. Oh, he's gone again.
You just insulted him.
No, I didn't. Oh, I hope not. Shelby AC says this might be my favorite episode of this show. And way to get buried in your work. Shelby AC goes on to say, Owen, please come on this show on the regular. So there's a lot of comments. We're not going to get to all the comments, unfortunately, I don't think. But yeah. So Holy Hand Grenade says, I love this dude. Hopefully he'll be back.
Yeah, hopefully.
Hopefully he'll be back.
Hopefully he'll make a return.
We are now going to have all guests on their phone to get some awesome shaky cam and nostril footage, says Fletcher Williams. That's great. I'll try to get to as many of these as possible. I feel bad for asking because I don't want to derail the conversation. Do you have any good stories about working with John C. Reilly or just on that set? Says Dempsey. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to that question. I don't know. I thought that was something. I'm going to all the things that aren't directly questions for Owen. Bethel Games asks, Joey would make a video about Owen, the Funny Pages cloths. I don't know what that means. Sorry. Apologies for that. Shelby AC says, oh my gosh, Glenn Barr the painter. I love his work. I've been friends with Glenn for years. If you look up early issues of Film Threat, Glenn did the most paintings on the cover. He created this character and did a illustration of this character called Slate Boy, which was like a film slate that's upside down. He's sort of our angry, maybe kind of a, maybe sort of a proxy for myself, actually. And he was like in Film Threat. So Glenn Barr did a ton of artwork for Film Threat only because he used to go to the same comic book store that I went to in the 80s, Dave's Comics in Royal Oak, Michigan. And I met Glenn through that. And then
is it that one there? Or?
Yeah, Slate Boy. That's Slate Boy. So there you go. So Slate Boy. So Glenn Barr, I knew then, and then he just did artwork, and then he did background paintings for the Ren and Stimpy show. So I was like, hey, he didn't want to move to California because he lives in Michigan. Glenn didn't want to move to California. And I'm like, well, hey, you can like rent this back room that my landlord has. You could just rent it for cheap. So Glenn would come out and he would like stay for a month and like his, he just made it work where he was like kind of would travel and whatnot. So yeah. So Shelby, yeah, I know Glenn. I've known him for years. He's in the Film Threat Sucks documentary. Look up Film Threat Sucks. Film Threat Sucks is a documentary. Chris, ever read the Crow comics? Says Solomon Thornton. I have not. I have not read the Crow comics, but I have seen the movie. So, but I hear the Crow comics are awesome. So, yeah, I hope Owen comes back. I'm gonna email Alan. Maybe here. Hang on, I'm gonna message them.
Okay. Oh, there's new videos here. I was gonna play.
Play a video.
Finish him.
Oh my jeans. Sweet.
Oh yeah, no, that one's gonna get us copyright straight.
Really?
Within a grip.
Get busy, come on.
Yeah, slap that like button, folks.
Well,
Yeah,
Alan, I believe that there is an art to choosing which video goes. And we saw that one probably 10 minutes ago.
I know, but I'm certainly not gonna play one that demeans me.
My nipples look like milk duds.
But those are the best ones, Alan. Those are the best ones. Well, let's go. The chat here is on fire. Adam, his next film will be filmed sideways in spite of Chris. Yeah. Thank you for that, Adam.
Yeah.
That was great.
Feel like we lost him forever. It's a
People are asking really good questions. They're just not for us. All Twisted Up says Glenn Barr freaking rules. Bad Betty, Poor Barney, absolute classic. Hell yeah. No, I would go to Glenn's studio and be like, okay, I need to cover a Film Threat. If you look at the covers of the old issues of Film Threat, there's one where I did this whole issue of Film Threat where it was dedicated to what if James Dean lived? And this is before Photoshop, and we sort of manipulated pictures, and I wrote an article about like if James Dean lived, what would have happened, which is weird. And Glenn did a painting of James Dean, kind of the moment before he got, Owen's back. But yeah, Glenn Barr's.
Yeah.
We're just talking about Glenn Barr because he did old covers of Film Threat.
Oh, okay. Is he's an art director? Then?
No, he's an artist, Glenn Barr. You would love him. But let's.
Oh wait, is that Savage Pencil?
No.
No, let's Glenn someone else. Never mind.
Yeah, Glenn Barr, 2 N's, 2 R's. You would love his stuff. I guarantee you own something that has his artwork on it.
I'll bet. Yeah, Glenn. Let me see if I can ID his art first. I love doing this.
Yeah.
BARR.
Yeah. Glenn, 2 N's, Barr, 2 R's.
Oh wow,
It's,
he's great.
Bad Betty, Poor Barney.
Yeah, I guarantee you've seen his stuff.
Oh wow. Wow, he's some painter. Jesus. Yeah, I definitely. I feel like maybe he did stuff for WFMU over the years, maybe.
Yeah, I mean he did stuff for Film Threat.
Wow. Jeez. Okay, yeah, I totally recognize. He's definitely done like kind of satirical covers and things. Oh wow, yeah, he's fantastic. Well, I'll check it out later. That's amazing.
All right, we've got about 100. I don't know how much time you have.
I have plenty of time. In fact, I have plenty of time.
Okay, well let's go through these questions. Dempsey says, do you have a process for writing like a special place or album that you play?
What's funny is that when I listen to music, I think about ideas and characters and things and dialogue and scenes, but I can't write and listen to music. I used to be able to do that, I used to be able to tell, in high school, you're watching TV and taping something off TV. You're I'd be taping David Letterman off the TV, and then I'd be doing my homework, and, listening to the Butthole Surfers on a CD player or something, and not paying attention to anything that I was doing in my homework or anything. And I don't do that anymore. That doesn't work for me, unfortunately. So I just I really have to buckle down and be like, all right, turn off the music, turn off the record, whatever. Like, and I just I don't, but yeah, but I listen to I guess sometimes if I'm just like kind of just like free balling, like I do a lot of writing where I'm just not even thinking, and it's just sort of like free writing where I try to just write stream of consciousness when I wake up and like write down my dreams or whatever, the first couple things that I remember, like red balloon, like this, that, and you write the details, and then you figure out the narrative later, and then you figure out what the hell's going on in it, and then you maybe apply that to something. But like sometimes when I'm doing that, I'll like listen to music or something, and I'll listen to like jazz. Like I just pulled out three things. They'll be, nothing will be more different than these three things. It'll be like this Charlie Christian record. This is like the first record that one of the first records Thelonious Monk played on. It's a live record from '49, I think, on Esoteric Records. After Hours, Monroe's Harlem Mintons was the group, and it's Charlie Christian and Dizzy Gillespie and Thelonious Monk on piano. Or The Process of Weeding Out. This is a relaxing album, the lounge record. You put it on when you kind of make cocktails and have a date over. You put this on your hi-fi system.
I'm pretty sure it's not if it's Black Flag. I'm going to guess that that's not relaxing music necessarily.
No. Well, the song Screw the Law on here, that one's sort of the like wind down.
That's the
I'll give you that's the slow dance. And then, that's what you do the foxtrot to. And then Trapeze, the great Burt Lancaster movie by Carol Reed, director of The Third Man and Odd Man Out and Fallen Idol. You ever see The Fallen Idol?
No, I haven't.
That's a really eerie movie. Really eerie British movie about an evil servant whose kid and a kid that looks up to him, and he murders the idol. It's great. You should see it. It's great. And I don't know. Yeah, things like that. Or like
we may have lost
Fiddle of Harry Choates. Just weird things from working at a record store. You get really bored of the same old rock music, so you start getting into weird things.
All right.
Lots of different things excite me and inspire me. I don't know.
Here's another question.
What?
Amanda Nowicki says, what is the funniest story you have from spending time at your local comic shop?
I'll tell you a really good one I was thinking about the other day. There was this guy, he's kind of like a classic character about town, and it was at a party at this store Rocket Ship, which was an indie comic store in Brooklyn. It's no longer around, but they used to have parties, and fun people would come through. Tony Millionaire would do a signing and get really loaded, and or Johnny Ryan or Kaz or Drew Friedman or Mark Newgarden, Art Spiegelman would come through. All these weird people would come through, and I'd watch these people get drunk while they drank like a Diet Coke or something. So I was like 15, but there was this like one guy that would, these were open parties, and there was one guy that would just come all the time, and it was sort of like not a welcome presence. He was like a daytime. He was fine in the daytime at the store, but the fact that he was like going to the Rocket Ship parties was like kind of a nightmare for everybody. So I don't know. I just remember this guy getting finally the thing that like broke the straw that broke the very, very noble owner of the shop's camel's back. Was this like they had these tikis, torches, and the guy was like putting his hands through them and doing some like insane bit, and they were just like, "You're out of here," this and that, and he was really annoying. That's the most insane thing I'd ever seen, was like a guy who was like already kind of like disrupting the party, like take it to the next level, because he wasn't that much of a nuisance to like, but he really like brought it there. And as a kid, seeing that and seeing two adults interact in that way was really funny. But the funniest story, I think, spending time at a local comic shop, just the conversations that you overhear. You know what I mean? I don't know. Like I'm always more interested in the conversations of people who's like their world, their universe. I have no idea about their universe and what they're talking about. So like manga people, like I love, like there's certain Shintaro Kago, I think is like a genius guy who's like a recent kind of like manga, like art comics curiosity for me. Does like very, very grotesque stuff. It's not my predilections, but they're really just uninhibited, fucked up comics. But when I hear people talking about manga in a comic book store, whether it's like two teenage girls with green hair or like two 60-year-old men with green hair, like it's an amazing conversation to overhear because it's like it's just fly on the wall stuff that like I don't know, it's out of like a Frederick Wiseman movie or something. Like you just don't have any context for it, and it's people who live in a completely different world. It's like Grey Gardens, you know, but with like people talking about, you know, I don't know who these. I don't know. It's just it's like fantasy worlds. You know what I mean? People into fantasy stuff in that regard. It's just, you know, to be a fly on the wall, and it is. These are divine conversations.
That's why I think you just don't walk into a comic book store. You kind of want to. It becomes a hangout, right? Like it's like a thing where you hang out. Like,
but it's like high school, like where there's different cliques in different corners, kind of. You know what I mean? You got the guys in the back playing cards. You got these guys over here. You got the wise asses at the counter who don't like the superhero stuff.
Right.
You know?
Patrick Lemire says Owen is a gem.
I have a question about in your film Robert's apartment. How close was his first apartment to your first apartment?
Oh God, no. I mean, I never. Well, I realized this recently because I actually forgot this until yesterday. But I was reminded by someone that my second apartment that I lived in Brooklyn, people lived in the basement, and it was not legal for them to do that. And I completely forgot. But that's where the initial. I'm talking about like 10 years ago, you know, I completely forgot that happened, but yeah. What was the question again? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, how close was that to your first apartment, or was there?
No, I've been to 2 apartments like that in my life, just from again, like, you know, buying and breaking up people's collections. You know, like some people live with amazing stuff in not so healthy ways. I'm sure you know. I mean, you know. If you ever pick up something on Craigslist that's kind of a little bit interesting, even, and it's not some, you know, esoteric paper collection or something, you know, that's, you know, you don't know what you're stepping into. I'm sure you've been to, I mean, so that's a Craigslist phenomenon. Like once in a while, you just step into a place and you go, if I make it out alive in here, you know.
I know, I want to hear what he's saying.
Happy, and you always do.
Yeah.
$200. You know the Moog Rogue? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
The Moog Rogue, it's like a really weird Moog instrument. It's probably the weirdest one. But some guy was selling it for like $200. And it's a very valuable piece of equipment. I bought it from him, but I trekked out there. I didn't realize where the address was. It was the Flushing, Queens, like waste depository. It was like he worked in like, so I went into this building. I'm trying to find this guy. And he's like, yeah, come here. He's like some, you know, stout, chubby guy. So I go like, you know, he's like, you know, it's like a garbage man who was like played drums. You know, I'd emailed with him a little bit. He had a Hotmail. You know, that was the first red flag. So then, no, I'm just kidding. I used to have a Hotmail. Hotmail's great. And then I walked down these damp steps towards this rumbling sound. It was like it was like sounded like Doctor Who kind of music, you know, like the Delia Derbyshire, that classic theme. It was like, and I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna murder me with this Moog. I don't know what was going on, but he just had it set up with an amplifier and sold it to me. But I walked down I remember these creepy steps, and now that I'm thinking about it, maybe that had some sort of traumatic, you know, response. Maybe that's in there too. I don't know. Different things, different weird memories. It's all weird memories. The only memories I have are weird memories.
Well, here's speaking of memories, Dempsey asks, I feel bad for asking because I don't want to derail the conversation. Do you have any good stories about working with John C. Reilly or just on that set Anniversary Party 2001?
Yeah, it's a really long time ago, but I do have one very specific memory of John C. Reilly and probably not any others. Although I know John a little bit now. But you know, I didn't really know him then, but he like really there was like a scene where everybody was sitting around like the living room and he was telling jokes and this and that, and they needed like reaction shots of us for some reason, and you know, laughing or whatever it was, and you know, it was just like, it wasn't, they were maybe rolling sound on it, but it was, what he was doing was just something stupid. And it was like him just telling some story about how he was farting for, I don't know, it just went on and on. You know, he was making all these farting sounds, was like obsessed with, it was just completely scatological and insane and perfect for like a, whatever, a 10-year-old kid. So that's how they got the shot. That's what I remember of him, and just thinking that it was like the funniest person I'd ever met. He's just this like, even then there was like something you can't put your finger on. It's like Pee-wee. It was like Pee-wee or something, where it's like, you know, you don't know as a kid, like, oh, it's a man child in a way. But he has this kind of like kid-like goofy thing that, you know what I mean? I can't explain it.
Kara asks, Owen, what is your dream project that you want to make?
I'm trying to make it, so I don't want to say. I can't say, but I mean,
All right.
it's comedy. You know, I'm only really interested in comedy. Yeah.
CD Stein 69 says, as a former comic store clerk, I'd have to say you got it pretty damn close to perfect.
Where did you work?
I
love hearing about stories.
Spaceman says, did you ever hang out at Forbidden Planet in Los Angeles?
There's a Forbidden Planet in LA. So I know Forbidden Planet in New York for many years, and I had many friends that worked there, and it's great, still a great store. And now for some reason it's the only store where you can get like weirdo Blu-rays. So all my friends, you know, now that's the only place in Union Square. We're bumming around. We go into Forbidden Planet in New York, and it's just, you know, they have something weird stuff on Blu-ray, and you know, Anchor Bay Blu-rays and all of this kind of stuff.
God, I remember Something Weird. They put out so many good videos. It was that Psychotronic was another great like magazine.
I mean, this is still my Bible.
Yeah,
you know?
there you go. Psychotronic by Michael Weldon. Yeah. God, that was like a Bible. It was great.
It is the Bible.
Yeah, for sure. It is the weirdest movies of all time. That's how you discover them right there. Jeff asks, how did you first get into these esoteric novelties and such that's in your collection? Was there someone who introduced you to the music and underground comics?
Yeah, like older friends of mine. I mean, like working at Norton, finding them, and working at as a teenager, like when I was 14, working.
Oh no.
You know, Anthology Film Archives and all the Norton records in particular. Norton really got me into a lot of that stuff, and their whole world. Some people just don't know, but they were kind of the first reissue label. You know, like Numero Group or one of these places now that sort of makes a living on reissuing older records. Like Norton was kind of like the ground zero for garage rock and primitive rock in general. Yeah, as I already said, probably, but so they taught me a lot in their sensibility and sense of humor. Taught me a lot, and yeah, Dave the Spaz's show on WFMU. A ton of people, WFMU DJs, and you know, just growing up and listening to WFMU was like also kind of hooked me and stuff. And yeah, just different record stores too in New York would just have a long box that just said novelty and stuff, and it was just always the cheapest stuff. So there was just I don't know. I just found goofy kind of cheap novelty records to be amusing as a teenager.
I miss the I'm sure you remember those records that are just, you'd get them in a magazine like Mad Magazine, and they do like a vinyl, you'd pull it out, and they were like very flimsy. Yeah, I'm sure you have some of those.
I remember the Mad Magazine one. You'd play it and it would have 3 different endings.
Like one of these, you mean?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's it.
Sometimes they were printed on the backs of cereal boxes or like in a magazine, like
a
flimsy black vinyl. Yeah.
This is an underrated one. Like Noah's Job is pretty famous. Yeah, she lets me with her mom top fight.
That's
a funny one. And yeah, what does it start?
Yeah, but see, that's on cardboard. The actual
this is cardboard. Sounds like garbage. Sounds like it is because it is. It's garbage. But It's a Gas by Alfred E. Newman is probably the most famous one.
Yeah.
But also, She's Got a Nose Job. She's Got a Nose. Gigi Allen covered it as some crass version. I can't remember what his switch up was. Question for I'm trying to create a short comic film. How do you stay focused on the goal?
Oh no.
Time.
Oh, there you go.
You were so scared you were going to lose me again.
Okay.
There's an alarm going off, but it wasn't for anything.
It's okay.
A comic film, comedic. comic book or comedic? I imagine comedic. How do you stay focused on the goal when doing it part-time? Well, I did that for years. It's really difficult. You just keep playing with it. You know what I mean? It depends on your process. I mean, I always did it the way that I did this movie, which was kind of pieced together in an insane way. And it's kind of slow, but sure, but steady process of 6 years of finding a thing and, twisting it and, running out of money and getting a little bit more money and shooting and, but it was like a pretty steady process of all that stuff. But, I was doing short films. Like I was working at record stores and video stores and everything, and just, saving up a little bit of money at a time to shoot 16 millimeter. And then, like just getting to shoot like a scene every couple of months on something, and, or a couple, like get like 2 or 3 days in, and then kind of go like, oh, well, like half of this kind of works, and then cutting that out, and then saving up a little, do a little more, and just being pretty zen and slow about it, but steady. If you actually set, time aside for it, which is the hardest part, and really go like, this is my block, and take that day off that you can afford to, like just keep monkeying around with a thing. Like if you can just find that focus, that's usually what it takes, I think.
And then, because we're about to wrap up.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but everyone wants to have you back.
I'll come back in a heartbeat.
Okay,
what do you think of it? I'm not doing anything. I got to go to London in 2 weeks or something, or a week. But yeah, like this is all I do is just, I sell out of this room like stuff over the phone and on Facebook private groups and things. So I'm just in this room and usually talking on the phone. So I'll just throw you guys on in the background while I'm doing whatever.
Yeah. Holy Hand Grenade says, even if he doesn't come back, this was the best interview so far of the show, in my opinion.
Whoa.
The best interview.
That's really nice.
Maybe the most technical problems, but the best interview. So, and Amanda Nowicki says, I don't know if you can read this. I used to work at a comic book shop called Bosco's Comics in Anchorage, Alaska. The craziest thing I saw at that job was a man walking by the store wearing nothing but a pink towel and women's house slippers.
Just sort of processing this.
Yeah. Like what? Hey, yeah. Like there's a story. I like that there's a story behind that. There's a story behind seeing a person like that. Like, that's pretty funny.
I just keep thinking about how boring my comic book store was.
I'm here.
I used to love that place, and now it's like, oh, all we did was buy comics and talk about it.
Yes, the return of Owen has been.
I lost you for a second, but I'm here.
Oh, it's okay. Dempsey says, yes, the return of Owen has been foretold in the prophecy. And John Manling says, love Owen. Dude's a bona fide nerd. Hell yeah. Yeah. So yeah, we have to have you back. And
where you guys got to go? I don't have any. They cleared all my prep. You guys got to go. You got to eat lunch.
I actually have to. We've been doing this for 3 hours.
I'm sorry. I missed all of it. Did I miss all of it?
No. Well, we start the show at like 9 a.m. We talk about movies or just whatever. We talk to people in the chat. Then we have, on Fridays we have 1 or 2 filmmakers on. And we had a filmmaker on whose movie, The Invitation, also competition for you. Probably not, different audience. It's a vampire movie.
There should be no competition.
Yeah.
Yes, but Funny Pages is out today in theaters, and it's
out today. Please go. It's a small movie. Please go and tell people if you tell people.
It's a small film. You got to tell people about it. It totally captures that the sort of obsession with underground comics, and your character Robert completely reminds me of a guy I know whose name is Robert. I work with him. His name is Robert Schwartz. He is the lead character in your movie. Like everything about, he's just like obsessed with like, I got to do nothing is going to get in the way of me doing the comic. And so I love that kind of like passion. Like you captured that. Like what it's like to be that singular minded. And I feel that it's only a matter of time where someone like that will reach whatever level of success or what you consider success. I think the problem is we put money as a barometer of success. I don't believe that. I think basically your artwork, lasting further on a timeline, that to me is real success. That to me is success.
people are also in such a rush in this day and age, and it's like everybody's just too plugged in, I think.
Right.
You know? But like, you got to chip away at stuff. You got to chip away at your own brain and take space outside of your, you know, your smartphones. And I'm gonna start sounding like Archie Bunker in a second.
Right.
These kids and their smartphones.
Yeah.
That's a terrible Archie Bunker.
All Twisted Ups is done. I'll go see it this week. So we got people. Look,
Good, awesome.
Everyone's gonna see it.
Please,
People
please.
see the replay of this, and yeah, we
It's
unfortunately
really fun. Also, I just want to say, like, because most people, are like, I don't want to. I'll rent it on Showtime. Rent it online if you're afraid of going out and getting a mask and everything, and going into a theater and having some fun and laughing with a bunch of people, pissing your pants in the theater. It's in a theater. We've been doing these sneaks, and it's like. It's been like a riot. I wrote it as a comedy, but it's like a pretty uncomfortable comedy. But like, it's like people have been like multiple people have been literally pissing themselves at this movie, and have written me being like, like both me and my friend like wet myself. I got this message. Anyway, I'm not going to say who it was, but not that they were anybody,
Well, so.
See it in a theater. See
Absolutely.
funny pages in a theater. Wear a diaper. Wear a diaper.
Yeah,
and
and also try to see. Here's an Easter egg in the guy's basement apartment. There is a diaper rack, but nobody's ever caught it.
There is.
There's a diaper rack. You can see it.
Oh my god!
If in a split second when he's like in the door, when he's like kind of walking, and just look out for it. You look out for it. Try to spot the diaper rack.
I mean, there are some things in there that definitely. Like are just like cringe and uncomfortable, and I love that kind of comedy. So yeah, look, people are loving it. I'm seeing it this week, going to see it tomorrow. Awesome. Owen, I'm sorry you have to go. I actually have to go. Unfortunately, I have to. I gotta leave, but we gotta have you on where we'll just start you at the beginning of the show and we'll just go for hours.
Will you sign my issue of Freaked? That one.
Yes, I'll
Cool.
I'll sign an issue of Film Threat or whatever, like whatever you want. Like I asked your representation to send me your email or forward my email. So
all right, we'll talk. We'll hop on the horn sometime.
We'll hop on the horn. I want to see what you're
That's what I like.
You'll reconnect, basically.
Yeah, we got it.
Dude, the vibe of this movie, I was in heaven watching it. And I actually showed the trailer for your movie at San Diego Comic-Con. It was so I don't know if that was legal, but I did it anyways. I didn't care. But I showed the trailer for Funny Pages at San Diego Comic-Con, and people to a room of like 200 people, they were going nuts. Oh
no! Well, here's the other thing. Just because, like, I don't want to be Mr. Like, I love all kinds of I was just rereading, all these Jim Starlin comics again. Like, I love. There's plenty of superhero voices, and Alan Moore comics and stuff that I love.
Yeah.
And now, I'm like a huge unabashed Alex Toth card carrying devotee. I love him. I love, there's certain artists that I just love. But this is not like an anti-superhero movie, Like one of the characters in the movie was victimized by the superhero industry, or an offshoot of independent creators, ironically, with the Image comics. But it's not an anti-superhero movie, and I think that's I think if you like any kind of comic book, you'll be able to enjoy this movie. Well,
we'll leave it at that. Owen, thank you so much for being on the show. This is great. And
thank you.
I'm glad we got the technical stuff worked out. And I knew you were legit when I saw Gary Groth. Like, it's that spread page. It's like Gary Groth. I'm like, no one would know that except
Gary Groth just wrote us asking to see the movie, and I'm getting interviewed by the great Mark Newgarden, creator of the Garbage Pail Kids, for Comics Journal. So I feel indebted to Gary Groth, and I wish that Tim Thompson could see this movie, but he's no longer alive.
Yeah.
But did you know Kim?
No. But
Gary.
Yeah. God, like, it just brings back memories of like Comic-Con, or when Comic-Con's going to a Comic-Con, there was almost like a little shame behind it, right? Like, I'm going to a comic convention, like whatever. Now, like, all of that stuff, at least on a superhero level, is all mainstream. It's fine.
I do want to look. I'm not like a Marvel hater. I don't, like I'm waiting for the Marvel movie to really hit me. My favorite is the Roger Corman Fantastic Four movie.
Yeah, that's
It's insane.
my favorite as well.
It's totally insane. That's the most expressive Marvel movie to me. For my favorites. But I'm waiting for the one that's like really gonna knock me out, and I feel like I know when it appears. But I don't remember what I was gonna say. Shit.
It's all right. That's okay. Save it for next time.
Yeah.
Owen, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again. You will return.
Okay, I will return like I did today.
Okay, great. All right,
Thank
take care,
you.
man.
All right, take care.
See you later. Awesome. Great.
That's awesome.
That was one of the best interviews ever, if not the best interview. Yes, the return of Owen. Love Owen, man. Dude's a bona fide nerd. We do have to wrap it up, only because I actually have to go somewhere. I'm going to Pageant of the Masters tonight in Laguna.
Oh, you're coming down to my area.
I'll be there. I'm going to see it. Pageant of the Masters in Laguna Beach. Look that up. I know tickets are still
I didn't
available.
realize they were doing that again, but it's back.
So I have to leave to get, like, I'm meeting family there. I would have just gone on for more hours, but I'm sorry. But I want to say thank you to everybody. I also have to go to the bathroom. Somebody said, Goober, to the bathroom. So yes, of course. Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, I gotta go. We try to do like a 2-hour show. Sometimes it slides into 2.5. Today's our longest show for at least the Friday show. But I want to say thank you everybody for hanging out with us. We try to give you honest reviews, and then we try to give you honest reviews, and then also bring filmmakers to you so you guys can have a conversation. Retro Nerd Girl, thank you for that. Spaceman, best interview ever. Owen was a blast. And that wraps it up for us. Next week, we're going to be doing our show on Wednesday. I may not be in my studio because I'll have to be somewhere, but I'll be doing the show on Wednesday next week. We're going to talk about Samaritan, whatever.
We have 2 interviews, looks like.
We got a couple interviews with some indie filmmakers on Wednesday. It's going to be, and then Alan is off to D23 on Friday.
No, 2 weeks
that's
later.
the following week. Okay, sorry.
2 weeks later, I'll be at D23.
Following week. So just want to say thank you to everybody. We appreciate your support. Our new members who can enjoy the members only content, we appreciate that. And we'll be back next Wednesday. Alan, what is it that we'd like to do at the end of the show?
You like me to say something and then you play a video.
You know what we need to do.
I know how this works. Let's get out of here.